It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Sports is what we do.
You're in your car, you're in your house, you're wherever you are. You're a sports fan.
97.3 ESPN.
Because if you weren't a sports fan, you wouldn't be listening.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Hump Day Wednesday here on Game Night. Not Game Night, Sports Bash. You know, I figured I was going to mess it up at some point. I got through 4 hours yesterday not saying the wrong show name, and I opened up Wednesday saying the wrong show. Of course I did. This is the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. No game night tonight. I'll be on for the next 4 hours hanging out with you. Sixers win their 5th straight home game. And this Friday, they're welcoming in the 2-12 on the road Warriors. How about them apples? By the way, you can win tickets to go see Sixers and Warriors this Friday night. Just go to our website or jump on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Jump on the website or the app, and you can win tickets to see Sixers Warriors. We will get into some NBA today. Coming up at 4:40 today, we will talk with NBA insider Keith Smith from Spotrac, because we are approaching the day when people start making trades. So we'll get into his thoughts on the Sixers and the trade market early on in December. Also, Mike McGarry is back today. He's feeling better today, he told me. And we will get into it with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City coming up at 3:40. We got your football covered as well. Every Wednesday, John McMullen at 3 p.m., Eagles Insider. Also, football at 4 with Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports and Good Morning NFC East at 5:30. And I'm excited. I get to welcome back a friend of mine, Emory Hunt. You see him on CBS Sports HQ a lot. He will join us coming up at 2:25 because I got to get Emory on because he was the first. He was the original Jalen Hurts believer. The moment Hurts got drafted to this offseason, he had been telling me and anyone who would listen consistently, this guy can be a franchise caliber quarterback for a lot of reasons. And Emory will break it all down because I want to know from him, what was it that he saw in college that is translated to this MVP caliber season? Yes, I will also get to a little bit later in the show, Micah Parsons' comments about Jalen Hurts in the Eagles. But I first want to start with the Eagles news that came up earlier today. If you got the alert on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you saw that the Eagles have activated the practice window for Dallas Goedert, meaning that there's a chance that he is available to play this Sunday. And it's actually amazing that we're even having a conversation about Goedert because of the fact that when he went down, the assumption was that the Eagles offense was going to struggle without him. And they struggled, it felt like, one game. That Colts game was the only game in this 4-game stretch where the offense looked like it was lost. But the games after that 40 points against the Packers, 35 against Titans, 48 against the Giants. The Eagles have found their groove to the point where you would almost say, did they miss Dallas Goedert? Now, I know literally they don't, they're not better without him. I'm not crazy. But I want to put this in the context for you guys. When you look at the Eagles' offense, this offense is built around the idea that Jalen Hurts can make lemonade out of lemons. And I think part of the conversation that we are having about the Eagles, and part of the people who don't believe, or the people who are not fully bought in, or whatever, you want to, whatever label you want to put on it, the reason why people feel the way they do is because of Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying that when Micah Parsons said was wrong. And I know the audio is bantying about because I want to break it down deeper. But I want to start with the Dallas Goedert part of this conversation. Dallas Goedert is arguably one of the 5 best tight ends in the NFL. If Travis Kelce is number 1 and George Kittle is number 2 and Mark Andrews is number 3, just for argument's sake, then 4 and 5 is either Dallas Goedert and Darren Waller, however you want to organize them. You took that guy out of the Eagles' offense for a 4-game stretch. And 3 of the 4 games, they scored at least 35 points. In the 3 games before Dallas Goedert went down with the injury, the Eagles scored 35 points, 29 points, 21 points. It's not that the team is better or worse without Dallas Goedert. It's that this team was built to be successful if they lost somebody. If there was somebody on the offensive skill set positions that is missing. Again, I think that we don't give credit where credit is due sometimes. I think there's 2 people who deserve a lot of credit for the Eagles' success in the 4 games without Dallas Goedert. I think one of them is Jalen Hurts and his just unwavering, unrelenting poker face. The guy is not fazed by anything. Nothing anybody says or does shakes him, moves him, anything. I think his leadership has been a huge part of the success. The other side of the coin is I think we got to give a lot of credit to this coaching staff. Because this coaching staff has done an excellent job at putting this team in a position to be successful. When you have 500 total yards, 453 and 437, that's nothing to sneeze at. And I think that the reason why we even mentioned the idea that a Shane Steichen could be a head coaching candidate is because the Eagles are having this success. And on the season, they are leading the NFL in points per game. Now, that's not to say that they can't get better with Dallas Goedert, because there's certainly a possibility that over the next 4 games of the season, we are down the stretch they come with the Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Giants, that we still may not have seen the apex of this offense. So I understand where Micah Parsons is coming from when he says this on the Von Miller's podcast, which is on Bleacher Report.
If we look at the Eagles, is it Hurts or the team? I think it's a little bit of both, man. I
I think
It's system and team.
I think it's a little bit of both, man, because they got a great offensive line, which helps Hurts. Hurts has A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. They got a good running game.
I mean, Miles Sanders.
They scheme that they have.
O-line.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, like.
Hey, this Eagles Cowboy coming up, ain't it?
Yeah, it's coming up. I'm not trying to make no enemies. I just love the game so much, and I understand it so much that like I can't. I when things are off, I just can't like hold it in. Like I almost gotta say something. Like
yeah, you're right. They got a great team, great defense.
But everyone has their own opinions. Like
Micah Parsons is an amazing football player, but he's sitting across from a future Hall of Famer. And he can't accept what a future Hall of Famer is trying to explain to him. And that means Micah Parsons won't listen to me or you or anyone else. Von Miller is one of the greatest pass rushers of this generation. The dude's going to the Hall of Fame. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He's been part of 2 great defensive units that have won championships. And he is being asked by Micah Parsons, is it Jalen Hurts or is it the team? And Von Miller is trying to explain to him it's both. But Micah won't accept Jalen Hurts is an MVP caliber quarterback. Why? Because Micah Parsons, like many people in this world, don't like to admit when they're wrong. Micah Parsons, for as amazing of a talent he is still insecure enough to come out and say, I got to admit when I see things. I know football. I'm really intelligent. Intelligent, secure, smart people don't go around banging the table telling you how secure and smart and intelligent and how much football they know. So Micah Parsons is already telling you that he knows that he might be wrong, but he's so afraid to admit that he is wrong, especially in front of an alpha dog like Von Miller sitting a couple feet away from him if you watch the video. He can't admit that he's wrong. And that's the problem with the people who don't give the Eagles or Jalen Hurts respect. Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate because he is taking the groceries that were given by Howie Roseman, and he is running full steam ahead with it. And the coaching staff is enabling him to be himself. Jalen Hurts never has to tell you in an interview, never has to explain to you about his football intelligence, which he obviously has because the guy does a great job at basically not just not turning the ball over, but not taking major hits. He does an incredible job at maintaining a play for as long as he can, and 1, not turning the ball over, and 2, not getting blasted on every play. When he runs, he doesn't look for the contact like Andrew Luck used to or Josh Allen does now. He's not reckless as a runner like Michael Vick was early in his career with the Falcons or RG3 was before all the injuries piled up. Jalen is intelligent and he knows football. But unlike Micah Parsons, he doesn't have to tell you how smart he is, how much football he knows. Jalen Hurts has done an amazing job at evolving from a guy who people asked, is he going to be the Taysom Hill of the Eagles offense 2 years ago, into an MVP candidate? How? Through work ethic, through hard work. But again, Micah Parsons is the symbol of what happens when you don't want to admit you're wrong. Because the audio you haven't heard is what happened about 5 minutes earlier in the same podcast when the conversation of MVP came up. Again, this is from the Voncast. You heard the initial audio that's been making its rounds today on all the TV and radio shows. But listen to the context of why the other audio cut is relevant. This was Micah Parsons and Von Miller talking about MVP earlier on the Voncast.
I think right now
Mahomes.
it's down to 2. It's down to 2
Mahomes
right now.
and Allen.
Josh coming back, but it's down to 2.
Who else would you put?
I'll probably put Hurts and Mahomes right now. End of the season,
It's hard for me. It's hard for me to really speak on this.
Josh right there. Josh is probably
We
right
play
there
him
on the
in a
bubble.
couple weeks. I don't want him to make me pay.
No, I'll put my GM hat on. I'll put my GM hat on, bro.
It's hard. Like when you put talent around, it makes it easier. You know.
Well,
okay, because I'm
Lamar Jackson. You put
Lamar. He almost has his own.
He doing it by himself. And then Aaron Rodgers. He the highest paid quarterback in the league. Not as much talent as he's used to having, and he's not having.
That's why I say talent makes it a lot easier.
Micah is holding to the idea that because Hurts has talent around him, that's why he's successful. And Von Miller is trying to explain to him, yeah, but you took talent away from Aaron Rodgers and he's no longer successful. Now, Micah Parsons doesn't have the spine to say that Aaron Rodgers is not an MVP caliber quarterback, but he has this desire to, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to get myself in trouble, because he knows that the position he's taking is irrational. And Von Miller is trying to explain to this younger guy, basically the next Von Miller, basically, okay? Von Miller is trying to explain to this young man, Micah Parsons, you can say all you want that the talent is there, but Lamar Jackson wins the MVP. The talent was better that year than it is now. Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP. The talent was better that year than it is now. You have to have talent to be successful. I have said right here on 97.3 ESPN, Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on a Hump Day Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN FM. I have said multiple times over the last several years, to the chagrin of some people in this listening audience who listen on 97.3 ESPN FM or 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thank you for listening wherever you tune in to the Sports Bash. I have been saying for years that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. If his receivers don't catch and his offensive line doesn't block, he's not going to be that good. But at the end of the day, the problem with the people who don't believe in Jalen is because they didn't believe in him day one. So as a result, they can't admit they were wrong. Micah Parsons is trying so hard to create this case that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are only successful because they're a great team. Well, of course, a great team's going to win a lot of games, Micah. Stop telling me how smart you are. I never understood why young men don't understand this. It's something that would have made my life a lot easier if I learned this, much earlier in life. When you are the person who keeps banging the table to tell everybody how great you are at something, you're overcompensating. Micah's answer to Von Miller is, I'm really smart at football, and I got to tell you what I see. Is it Hurts or is it the team? Well, the reality is Jason Kelce already told you this 5 years ago. It is the whole team. Teams win championships and not individuals. That in no way diminishes or negates what Jalen Hurts is doing. It doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts can't be successful or shouldn't be successful. What it means is that both things can be simultaneously true. You can have a loaded team, you can be the number one seed, and you can also have a great individual season. Look, Patrick Mahomes, what he is doing in that Chiefs offense without Tyreek Hill cannot be undersold. But the question is, how do we define MVP? Is it the best player on the best team? Or is it the guy, if you took off of his team will lose the most games? Those are two different conversations. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973. Willie from Middle Township says, Josh, you're right. Hurts is an MVP candidate, but to me, he's not the MVP. I believe Patrick Mahomes will be voted MVP. Hurts has a ton of talent around him. Mahomes lost one of the best receivers in the league and hasn't missed a beat. That's from Willie in Middle Township. Well, first of all, Willie, I tend to agree with you on the fact that I think the voters will probably eventually give it to Mahomes, even though Jalen Hurts, as many sports books, is the betting favorite to win the award. But the problem with what you said, Willie, is that you said Mahomes hasn't missed a beat, but he has missed a beat. Mahomes has 9 interceptions in his last 8 games. He had just had 3 last week. The Chiefs almost lost to the Broncos because they almost choked away the game. So Mahomes has missed a beat. That Colts game earlier this year was ugly as anything. The Chiefs' offense looked pedestrian. The week before, Travis Kelce even admitted on his own podcast with Jason Kelce that he did a bad job, that he did not help his team, that he hurt his quarterback. So at the end of the day, Mahomes has lost a little something with Tyreek Hill. Doesn't diminish his MVP candidacy. But you're right. You could be a candidate, but we'll see who actually wins. We'll talk with Emory Hunt from CBS Sports HQ and Football Game Plan next with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Happy holidays to all of our listeners.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas from 97.3 ESPN.
If you're struggling with addiction, medication that can support recovery may be the right option for you. Call 844-REACH-NJ now to learn more and start your recovery journey.
The 2023 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall, March 7th through 11th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, and a mac and cheese fest, where you'll be able to taste a variety of mac and cheese from your favorite local restaurants. Don't miss your chance to be a part of the action to see who'll cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Get your tickets at boardwalkhall.com.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
The world is always on, but you shouldn't be. Put junk sleep to bed. During Mattress Firm's Dreamcember sale, get a king for the price of a queen or a queen for a twin and save up to $700 on Sealy. Only at Mattress Firm.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
This isn't the olden days. Now, word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square, South Jersey, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? If your check engine light is on, it may be affecting your MPGs, but the free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help. With the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes, you'll know what's affecting your gas mileage and more, and you don't have to drive too far to find the fix. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service is available at all 6,200 stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
See details at AutoZone.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerry, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Matt Platt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. The all-new Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online, mattplattnissan.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. As I said earlier in the hour, there's no better person to have a conversation with than the first person who believed in Jalen Hurts. The first person I heard or saw anywhere that said, you better realize that this guy has this level of potential of what we're seeing this year. That man is Emory Hunt at FBall Game Plan on Twitter. Of course, you see him on CBS Sports HQ along with about 20 other different things. He's a busy man. I appreciate you making time, Emory. How you doing today?
Doing fine, Josh. Always a pleasure bringing me on the show.
I'm glad to have you back because I remember you told me 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts, what he could be. So talk to the audience, Emory, about what you saw from Jalen in college. How has that manifested itself this year with this MVP caliber season?
One, you saw the mental fortitude of a guy that is unfazed by pressure. And that's number one. That's the biggest attribute you have to have in order to be successful as a quarterback in the National Football League. Second, you saw him humble himself and take the opportunity to get better when he faced adversity. He got benched for Tua Tagovailoa. He didn't transfer out. He stayed there. They were blowing teams out, and he was getting some garbage time minutes during that season, and you saw him work on his game. He wasn't running as much. He was throwing the ball, trying to work well from the pocket, trying to work on his passing game. And lo and behold, in that conference championship game, they needed him to come in and save the day. And he, because of the work he put in all throughout that season, was able to step in and save the day. Then he goes to Oklahoma, where we know what Lincoln Riley's track record was with all of these quarterbacks and this offense he was going to play in. He goes there and puts up ridiculous numbers. And if it wasn't for him being usurped by Joe Burrow's ridiculous year, putting up historic numbers, he would have won the Heisman Trophy. So you saw all of that, and it just made sense him going to Philly. And I said this before in the show, you know, him, the type of person he is, in this city makes the most sense. And I knew it wasn't going to be long before he replaced Carson Wentz. And you knew my stance on Wentz when he was coming out. I wasn't the biggest fan of Wentz because a lot of the intangible things that I've talked about Jalen Hurts. You need a certified dog at the position for this city, and that's what they got, and that's what they're seeing so far this year.
You talk about the intangibles. Can you expound on that a little bit more? Because I feel like if I say it, people are rolling their eyes in their cars right now, Emory, because I talk about intangible. To me, intangibles is one of the most important things for the quarterback position. You know, we saw Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer win Super Bowls, for goodness sake, and they didn't have great arm talent. So why are intangibles so important for that position?
Because a lot of people, and this is a direct shot at people online, and a lot of people that are in this industry, they tend to focus on the position supposed to be played one way, when we've seen numerous examples over the course of time, players having success at the position being played differently. And we've seen that across the board at other positions. Imagine thinking that you can only have success as a running back if you ran like Jim Brown. Well, then we would miss out on Barry Sanders, right? So if you look at the quarterback position, and sometimes things won't go your way, but when you need the quarterback to be his best, that's when you want a guy that you can trust that will deliver. And we've seen this, Joe Montana didn't have the strongest of arms, but we knew in the fourth quarter, that's when you wanted Joe Montana on your team. Tom Brady physically is not the most impressive guy, but when you're down on the scoreboard, you don't want any other quarterback outside of, maybe Captain Comeback himself and Roger Staubach or, Fran Tarkenton or some of those guys that's, hey, this guy can bring us back. But you see this a lot. And so intangibles are key. They're all quarterbacks that are better than Jalen Hurts in terms of height, weight, speed, arm strength, accuracy, all that stuff that, all the physical stuff that you can measure, but you can't measure someone's want to. And you know it when you see it. And if you can't see it, then it's probably not in you.
I want to pick about one thing you said there. You talked about guys putting in the work to get there. What does it mean to you when you see a guy like Jalen, like Josh Allen, for example, at Wyoming? I mean, even Patrick Mahomes' footwork was a dumpster fire at Texas Tech. So what is the work that goes into making a quarterback what they were in college to being what they have become in the NFL?
I feel like it's all about just comfort and confidence. When you have a Jalen Hurts that hadn't played in the same offense since high school, so now he has comfort in the scheme. He has confidence from his coaching staff that you can go out there and just play. You don't have to worry about looking to the side if you throw an incomplete pass or throw an interception. They believe in you. The scheme is built to your skill set. Your second year in the system allows you to have that confidence within yourself, within the scheme, and then you can go out there and just play. A lot of times you'll see some quarterbacks, we see it in New York, and they're not saying it's a one-to-one, but you see a situation where Zach Wilson is playing risk-averse football. I'm scared to make a bad play because I got to look to the sideline. They may take me out, which they subsequently did. Or you see a situation across the river in New York with the Giants where they're not showing confidence in their quarterback with how they're calling and coaching the game. They're trying to save him from making the play or having being put in a pressure situation because they don't believe he can handle it. Talk about Daniel Jones. But when you have the confidence, like you saw the coaching staff have with Josh Allen, hey, man, I know this is going to look ugly. I know you're raw as all outdoors. You weren't good in college in terms of your accuracy was all over the place. We're going to ride through this, see if we can get you to flatline a little bit, highlight the things that you do well, try to emphasize and lean into that. And therefore, you can find your own consistency. Otherwise, we'll just move on. But we'll give you that latitude, that leeway for you to do that. And I think that's what has to happen. And when you have that coach and player marriage, when they believe in you, he's our guy, and it's not just lip service. They're actually showing you that they believe in you. You can do a lot of great things as a player. And that's across any position.
Emory Hunt joining us here on 97.3 ESPN at FBall Game Plan on Twitter. Emory, since, speaking of coaches, Nick Sirianni gave the play calling responsibility to Shane Steichen, the Eagles are 19-4 in the regular season. When you see a team have that level of success, when a head coach hands that play calling off, what does that say to you?
It says something that I've always believed in. The head coach should be the head coach, the CEO, the great delegator. You can't go out there and want to be the play caller. And you see teams that do that tend to struggle. You see it with the Chargers. I want to still call the plays, but you're not getting the pulse of the team. You know, Sean McVay has had some success in doing that, but he's one of a few. He's a rare breed in terms of that capacity. You don't see John Harbaugh infatuated with calling plays, even though he was a special teams coordinator. The guys that are able to do it, and do it at a high level are rare. So for a head coach, having that humbleness, say, you know what, man, I know I can call plays. I can just give my suggestion if need be, but I need to focus on what's going on with the whole team. Maybe if I'm calling plays, I'm missing the fact that, you know, this wide receiver is limping a little bit because he tweaked his ankle 3 plays ago, or my offensive line is tired. I probably need to punt the ball here instead of going for it on 4th down. We're going to get blown off the ball. So when you are the head coach, you get to see the game from a 10,000-foot level. When you're still trying to call plays, you still see the game from a play caller's perspective, and it kind of hinders the team as a whole.
The last couple of weeks, Emory, the Eagles have scored 40 against the Packers, 35 against the Titans, 40 against the Giants without Dallas Goedert. Today, Dallas Goedert's practice window was open. So could this offense get even better with Dallas Goedert when he returns?
Absolutely, because it's another weapon. You add more weapons to the table, and we've seen Jalen Hurts not be afraid to get everyone involved. Some weeks it may be, you know, A.J. Brown's. Other weeks it may be Devonta Smith. Some weeks you see Quez Watkins pop in with a big player too, and other times it's Dallas Goedert, and we've seen this in the backfield with, you know, the way they rotate back. So for me, it's going to be even better for the offense, and you want to continue to build that type of diversification as you move forward into the playoffs, because as you get into the playoffs, you're dealing with better defenses, better scheming. Teams only have to worry about this one matchup as win or go home, and teams try to take away your best option. Well, if you have 4 best options in multiple ways of, you know, helping yourself out offensively, if one guy is having a bad day, then you're going to be more likely to move forward in the playoffs.
You just mentioned defense, leads me right to the next thing I wanted to ask you about, Emory. Cowboys defense, 49ers defense. Compare and contrast for me.
49ers to me has better front 7 play. And that also entails their linebackers. They have some fantastic linebackers that can cover. They can attack the run. So they're good on both ends of defense. The Cowboys have more athleticism, in my opinion, on defense at all 3 levels. They are super athletic. They can rush the passer. They can do a great job in disrupting the run with their speed. And on the back end, they can match up across the board, have good range safeties as well. Though Hufanga for San Francisco is a fantastic safety and a disruptor as well. So I feel like their defense they're stronger in different areas at both teams. And if I'm looking at this from an Eagles perspective, I would much rather face the team that I have a better chance with up front. And to me, that's the Dallas Cowboys. San Francisco poses a different threat up front. They require you to be game all throughout the game. The Cowboys, there's some vulnerability there. You should be able to have some success running the football. You can throw against the Cowboys, in my opinion. San Francisco is tough because of their ability to get pressure on a consistent basis. So therefore, if I'm the Eagles, the best matchup for you in the postseason is probably the Cowboys as opposed to San Francisco.
The NFC has been much debated this year about who's good, who's not. How do you, Emory Hunt, tier the NFC after the Eagles?
Cowboys and 49ers, and then a big drop off. And, you know, maybe the Seahawks, because of their ability with their offense, they can, you know, really put points up on the board, but their defense is questionable. No one trusts Minnesota. I don't trust Minnesota. Minnesota has lost against all the big teams. You know, they've gotten beaten by the Cowboys soundly. They got beat by the Eagles soundly. And I think they would get beat soundly by San Francisco, even with Brock Purdy at quarterback. I just don't trust Minnesota. They don't have that quarterback that you can trust in a crunch time situation. They have a great receiver in Justin Jefferson, but if your quarterback is going to struggle to get him the football, then you essentially take away their biggest option. And their defense is also suspect. So that's how I would tier them in this game. I would say the Bucks because of what I think their defense can potentially be and how disruptive they can be, and they still have Tom Brady, although he's showing his age this year, I probably would have them ahead of Minnesota as well.
Couple more for you, Emory, before I let you go. I've been asking people, any football person I can talk to this, because I'm really interested in people's thoughts on this. Who is the better QB wizard? Is it Kyle Shanahan or is it Sean McVay?
We got to we can't keep giving these guys these titles of wizards and gurus, because it's all player driven. And I would say you have to look at you got to start giving scouts credit and GMs credit, because if I like a certain type or certain attributes within a quarterback and you go out and get me those guys, then these guys are going to look like they're plug and play, and it's going to make it look like the coach is the guru. But the coach is doing what the coach is supposed to do, coach to the skill set of the player. You don't see them down up deep shots for Brock Purdy because that's not his strength, and you see them get him out on the move because that's probably more in line with his strength. And that's just good coaching. They're good coaches, but don't get me wrong. But you have to give these scouts credit too for finding guys that fit what they want at their position, and therefore they are able to maximize what those guys do well.
Before I let you go, I know you also covered the NFL drafts. It's not a specific draft question, but more of a big picture question for you. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the league today that are mobile. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, even Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. We got to talk about those guys. A lot of the old school get off my lawn football fan, they are. They say, guys got to stay in the pocket. Well, Lamar and Justin Fields both got hurt in the pocket this year alone. Kyler Murray got hurt. Nobody even touched him. It was a non-contact injury. To me, Emory, I've been telling people the league in football is going in a direction where you can't have the statue quarterback anymore. So talk to me about, the quarterbacks in college today and how that's translating to the NFL.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You have to be able to move. You have to be able to create opportunities for yourself. The reason being, these defensive ends are not the old school Reggie White where you're 6'5", 300 pounds. You're looking at defensive ends is about 245, maybe 250 that can run. And if you don't have someone that can also run and get away from pressure and just buy time, you're going to be dead in the water. And those that have mobile quarterbacks tend to be on the plus side of the winning column. And people will say, well, you have to win from the pocket. That's a flawed statement, because for like the first, 75 years, maybe even 80 years of the NFL's existence, mobile guys weren't allowed to play quarterback. They were forced to move to different positions. So they could have always gotten to this point and probably at the time created an even bigger disadvantage for the defense in terms of having a guy that evens out the numbers, make it an 11-on-11 game. So, yeah, you look at the quarterbacks that are coming out of college, your Anthony Richardson, your Bryce Young, you're not so much C.J. Stroud or Hendon Hooker. They're able to buy time, but they're not really your plus ones in the run game. But you look at those guys, and those are the type of players that you want. Those are the type of guys that you need, and those are the type of guys you can build an offense around, because you see it now with Philadelphia. Look how much better Miles Sanders looks attached to a Jalen Hurts as opposed to someone else. When you have a quarterback that's mobile, it makes everything better. The run game is going to be better. The receivers are not going to see a lot of man coverage, and if they do, the quarterback can burn you in that regard. So it just helps you call a better game offensively than a guy, because if you have a mobile quarterback, you can get away with some things that teams that don't. You see this with the Giants, right? I keep using those guys as an excuse, but how many times have we heard, oh, they need this offensive line, they need this? You need 5 guys up front to make this one guy look halfway decent. If you have a mobile guy, you don't even talk about who the Ravens have up front along the offensive line. They have more changes than the doggone Giants do with the injuries, but you don't hear about that because their guy can make anybody up front look right with how well he's able to escape pressure. So when you have that, it can hide some flaws and allow you the time to get those guys, up to speed to where you need to be. But if you have a statue, you need a top 3 offensive line. You're gonna need a top 3, number 1 wide receiver. You're gonna need a top 3 tail. You need all these things to make this one guy look good, when you should just go the mobile route and help your team out as a whole.
He is Emory Hunt at FBall Game Plan on Twitter. Catch him on CBS Sports HQ. He's also the best dressed man in sports media. We should throw that in there as well. Emory, always appreciate you being on. I love picking your brain. Keep up the great work. And if I don't see you before then, Merry Christmas, my friend.
Same to you and yours, Josh, and the listeners out there. Appreciate you always having me on.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash Hump Day Wednesday edition on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll get back to you guys' text messages on the other side. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through that 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle.
The excitement of a big play.
He is going deep, and it is intercepted.
And all the drama of sports.
Spotted, kick up, and it is good.
All in one place. 97.3 ESPN.
The holidays are a time to unwind. At least they should be. So tune everything out and find some peace of mind in the turbocharged Acura Integra. Spend some quality time with the family in the spacious MDX Type S. Unwind at the Acura Season of Performance going on now. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Visit your Delaware Valley Acura dealer to find your Acura today.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water, pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
It's JCPenney's coupon giveaway this Saturday, and shoppers ready at the door save more. You can save $10, $100, or $500 off your entire purchase, including doorbusters. Set your alarm for 9 a.m. Saturday, December 17th to get your coupon while they last. JCPenney's Super Saturday Sale. We got your holiday. Offer good on select styles 12/17. Exclusions apply. Coupon giveaway in-store only while supplies last. Must be 18 or older. See store for details.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends,
I can tell you drove high.
parents,
I can tell when you drive high.
relatives.
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
TLC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has been proudly serving South Jersey for over 15 years. Owner Matt Calloway was born and raised in Cape May County and has over 20 years of experience in the heating and cooling industry, as well as fireplaces, plumbing, and bathroom renovations. You can always count on a licensed and insured local contractor like TLC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling to be there promptly and to fix your problem right the first time. If your home needs a little TLC, get TLC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today. Online at tlcphc.com.
Where does the magic of the holidays come from? The North Pole? Maybe. Sugar plum fairies? Probably not. At Walgreens, we know that magic comes from you. It's the halls you deck from wall to wall, the wonderful gifts under your tree, and the holly jolly parties you throw. So dash into your local Walgreens, where we'll be here to help every merry little step of the way. Because when you're ready to spread the holiday cheer, it's not magic, it's Walgreens. This week, Starbucks mugs are 50% off. Select styles available while supplies last.
Let me guess. Unknown caller. You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
At the Home Depot, we have plenty of Christmas trees to make your holidays even more magical. Hundreds of full, easy-to-assemble artificial trees that look so real, you may be convinced they actually are. And for those who love that fresh pine smell, we have a parking lot full of fresh-cut trees to call your own. We'll even help you load your tree in the car so you can bring home the holidays. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts, big and small, for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99. Only at Banana Republic Factory.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Blatt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue. That's a brand new Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down. And AJ says you'll get more cash than you think and drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/31/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Welcome back into the Sports Bash Hump Day Wednesday edition. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Let's get back to you guys' thoughts and comments on the text board and on the app. Don't forget John McMullen coming up next hour, top of the hour, 3 o'clock. Mike McGarry with the Press of Atlantic City at 3:40 p.m. Text message comes in and says, Josh, it is true that Jalen Hurts is playing with a loaded roster, both on offense and defense, but there's nothing wrong with saying that he's doing everything he has to do with that loaded roster. And more importantly, as quarterback, he's not making mistakes to put his team in a bad spot. Listen, I always go back to Scott Mitchell, okay? And you're like, Scott Mitchell? Well, hear me out for a second. Scott Mitchell led a high-powered Detroit Lions offense back in the 90s. Herman Moore with 140 catches, Barry Sanders running every more. Morton was a very underrated secondary receiver. They had tons of talent on that offense. The offensive line was really good too, by the way. But his mistakes is part of what doomed that team. And so you can surround an average quarterback with a ton of talent, and he is still going to put up stats and numbers and good stuff. But if you need that quarterback to be the reason why you win some of those games, despite the talent around him, I think that's what makes the difference. Mike in Hamilton chimes in and says, hey, Josh, I think Parsons said what he said because if he has a big game against Hurts and the Eagles on Christmas Eve, he could say, I told you so. And Parsons could also be in the running then for MVP as well. I don't think what he said is really a big deal. Mike in Hamilton, first of all, thanks for texting in. Second of all, if Parsons thinks that's going to help him win MVP, then I don't think he's watched the MVP award get won by quarterbacks and running backs for the last 22 years. I mean, I have to dig really deep. I mean, it's got to be at least 30 years since a non-quarterback or running back or receiver won that award. I mean, if that's what Parsons is thinking, maybe he is more, maybe his brain is a little more disconnected than I thought, because it's not illicitly what he said, Mike and Hamilton, that's wrong. It's the fact that what he was trying to say was predicated on something that Von Miller was explaining to him, the flaw in what he is saying. And Micah Parsons, his answer back to it was, well, I'm smart. I know football. And it's like, that's not the answer to walk away the audience with any confidence in your opinion. Because then you just sound like the guy at the bar who, because he played high school football 30 years ago, that he knows more than the coach on the field. Yeah, it just goes to show you that, football players are real people too. Geoff in Ocean City chimes in and says the Eagles can't get caught up in all the Dallas Hawks. They must beat Chicago this Sunday or everything they've worked for will become much more difficult going to the playoffs. Geoff in Ocean City, I don't think the Eagles are looking past Chicago at all. I think they look at the Bears as a serious threat because speaking of Dallas, you look at the game that Chicago had versus Dallas. In that game, Justin Fields shredded them at times. And Dallas almost lost that game because they got caught up in the Justin Fields, the Justin Fields magic show, basically. Bill in EHT says Jalen Hurts is my MVP because, like we see, he will do whatever the team needs to win. His thought process, I'm not going to let this team lose. Hurts is so patient and looks so confident no matter what's going on. He's on a mission, and you can see that's from Bill in EHT. Bill, I think that your perspective is a lot like a lot of people who believe in Hurts for MVP. It's the idea that, like Emory Hunt said about Jalen Hurts, it's the importance of the intangibles. It's the importance of being able to have the mentality and the work ethic and the desire to be as good as you can be every single day. You aim for perfection. The old saying, if you shoot for the stars, you might land on the clouds. It's the idea that if you aim for perfection, you can still be great. And I think that is a big part of Jalen Hurts and this Eagles team moving forward, is that you're right. Hurts will do whatever it takes to win. He doesn't care if he hands the ball off or if he throws the ball. I don't think Jalen will ever be the guy who says, I need to pad my stats. That's for sure. More Eagles talk next with John McMullen here on 97.3 ESPN.
Kevin Kugler here from Westwood One. Coming up on Thursday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks host the 49ers. Last week, Brock Purdy, replacing the injured Jimmy G, led San Francisco to a dominating win over the Bucs in his first ever NFL start. Now they can solidify control of the NFC West and pick up a 7th straight win. Join me and Ryan Harris for the call on Thursday Night Football.
Listen to Thursday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
For the latest holiday tech gifts at great prices, Staples has you covered.
I need unbeatable prices on tech for everyone on my nice list.
Staples has you covered.
How about a tech gift that's music to her ears?
Staples has you covered with the hottest tech gifts at great prices this holiday. And right now at Staples, the new Apple AirPods Pro 2nd generation is just $199. You save $50. The latest tech gifts are at Staples, the working and learning store. Offer ends 12/17. Limit 2 in-store only.
When it comes to wings in the Delaware Valley, nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Whether it's South Jersey's best wings, tails, or ears, let them know you're sauce champion. All 10 delectable flavors are going head-to-head to battle for number one. When it's game day, you just gotta head to the Pick. Visit them on Facebook or at piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup. Nobody beats the Piccalilli Inn. Visit the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemong.
At the Home Depot, we have the tools to make gift-giving magic for all the DIYers on your list. If they prefer working on real homes over gingerbread houses, you can't go wrong with Makita Power Tools, like the 18-volt 2-tool kit for only $249, or the 18-volt compact circular saw for only $139. Get everything you need to get it done with new lower prices on Makita Power Tools only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Requalifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit! He stumbles! He's down!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Being brought to you by friends over at Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy, because Jenkins technicians are trained to do everything from heating and air installation, hot water heaters, leaks, stoppages, whatever you need done, Jenkins & Sons has you covered. Yes, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Give them a call today at 609-641-6262 and online at jenkinsandsons.com. Let's continue the Eagles and football conversation now. John McMullen joined us again today from JAKIB Media. Of course, Birds 365, Monday through Friday on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John, how you doing on this Hump Day Wednesday?
Doing well. Tired. Trying to get through this season, Josh Hennig.
I hear you there. John, I want to start with the news that came out earlier today. Dallas Goedert, his window has been activated. Now, what do you think that means? Because just because the window is activated, it's not a guarantee that he plays this Sunday. So what is going to happen in your mind over the next few days?
I expect Dallas to play on Sunday. The Eagles will take a look at him this week in practice. Today's a walkthrough. Tomorrow it's the major practice of the week, and then Friday have a sort of another shorter practice. Same thing happened with Levante Maddox last week, and I talked to Dallas, a week, about 10 days prior to this, and he said he was ready to go at that point. So I expect him to be activated on Saturday at 4 o'clock, barring a setback this week in practice, and expect him to be out there. The Eagles already opened a roster spot and didn't fill it, and that's because they know Dallas is coming back.
When Avonte Maddox came back, he got a lot of playing time his first game. We saw Jordan Davis get much less playing time his first game back. So what is a realistic expectation for the Eagles' number one tight end when he's on the field on Sunday?
Yeah, more towards Avonte. Jordan at this stage doesn't play a lot even before he got hurt, at least from a rep count. Now, obviously, it's a rotational position. And then the Eagles, on top of it, while he was gone, added Linval Joseph. So now you have that ability to rotate between them. And then even further on top of that, they've been so good against the run, they haven't had to use a lot of five-man fronts, and that's when Linval and Jordan would be in the game. So all of that is sort of a perfect storm, keeping his reps down. But you saw with Avonte as the starting slot corner, played a lot. And obviously Dallas as the starting tight end is going to play a lot. And he's been chomping at the bit to get out there. He was joking that they shouldn't have put him on IR. Now, he did fracture a very small bone in his shoulder, so you do need to let that thing heal, and that's why the Eagles did put him on injury reserve and forced him to sit out the 4 games. But he's raring to go, so he's going to play. He's going to play a lot, and that's big for the Eagles. Even though they've succeeded without him, he's one of the best players on the team, and this is a pretty good team.
That's what I was going to ask you next, John. They scored 48 points, 35 points, 40 points in the last 3 games. So, that's without Dallas Goedert, arguably one of the 5 best tight ends in the NFL. So, I mean, how much better can this offense get with him on the field?
Well, a lot of it is, they've dominated really especially these last 2 weeks. And there's been, the common denominator is both teams were really banged up. So in the case of Tennessee, Tennessee's a pretty good team when they're healthy. Not great, but obviously a legitimate playoff team. And, that they had some serious injury issues and were missing some key players. And same thing with the Giants. And the Giants have less talent than Tennessee. So things kind of broke the Eagles' way. A lot of people thinking that it somehow diminishes Dallas Goedert's import to this team or off base. I mean, he's really important to this offense. And as you get tougher opponents, and by the way, that's not going to happen on Sunday because Chicago's one of the worst teams in the league. But when you look forward a little bit, which the Eagles don't like to do, but we can do it here on the radio, Christmas Eve in Dallas. I mean, that's a big game against a good team, and it's very important to have Dallas Goedert back and performing at a high level.
Eagles insider John McMullen joining us here on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN at JF McMullen on Twitter. Well, John, one guy who's getting a lot of airtime right now on multiple platforms is the guy who is looking ahead to that game, that being Micah Parsons, who was trying to say without saying that he thinks it's the team and not Hurts that is successful, to the point where he said multiple times on the Von cast with Von Miller that he's trying not to get himself in trouble. What is your thought on Micah Parsons looking too far ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was more of a nothing burger, as they say. I don't know. People took it and ran with it. And that's one of the reasons why you probably shouldn't be doing these things, and why, Nick Sirianni doesn't want his players doing these types of appearances. And because, people, as I said, you can't control the perception. So I personally watched it again, and I said, well, what is everybody talking about? I didn't think it was even remotely disrespectful, but you can't control other people. And they took it in a different direction, and that's why you don't do these things. So if the Eagles use it, I know Jalen Hurts was asked about it today, and I think he had a 5-word answer, which was, I'm focused on Chicago or something of that nature. He's not the type to pay attention to it anyway. I know the Eagles' respect for Micah Parsons, that's pretty significant because I've talked to Nick Sirianni about that, one of the best defensive players in the league. But if you look at the clip as a whole, he basically gave a lot of praise to the Eagles' offense as a whole. So, if he said Jalen Hurts is the reason the Eagles are great, I think people would have been angry at him for disrespecting the offensive line and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders. And he talked up the offensive line and A.J. Brown and his buddy Miles Sanders from Penn State. And people went in another direction. So that's why you don't do these things if you're a player.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he was being overtly disrespectful, John, because frankly, the question he initially asked in the pod was, it's a fair question. The idea of, well, is it the Hurts or is it the team? And, I think that, Micah's point, which, Von Miller, I thought did a great job of pushing back on him about, but Micah didn't have a good response for, the veteran Von Miller, was that, look, you can't be successful with a bad team. Look at Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, Lamar Jackson down in Baltimore. If you don't give the quarterback talent, then how successful can the quarterback be? I don't think that is a unfair thing to say at all.
No, it isn't. It's common sense. The closest would be Aaron, and at his age, you don't know how much is the decline, but obviously he was the MVP last season. It was MVP question. So, and I think I'm on record. I think as of today, Jalen Hurts is the MVP of this league. But yeah, you can't play at that level without a good supporting cast, and you certainly can't go 12-1 without a good supporting cast. And Jalen knows he has one, and Jalen would be the first, by the way, to give credit to his offensive line and AJ and everybody else. So, that's why I kind of think it's a bunch of nothing. But, the perception is the problem. And you can't control how other people perceive something, which is why the old adage in the NFL is control what you can control. And where Micah Parsons went off base is probably saying yes to Von Miller and saying, I probably should have said no. I don't want to do it during the season.
Well, I mean, Jalen Hurts went on the Kelsey's podcast and he didn't say anything inflammatory. I mean, you could argue that Jason and Travis probably.
Well, either did Micah.
Right. Well, that's true.
But Jalen is, and I give Nick Saban credit for this all the time. I mean, Nick Saban teaches his guys, and you've heard Jalen use that term rat poison ad nauseum, because this is what he's talking about. You can give people nothing and they'll still take it. And Jalen does a tremendous job of giving people nothing. And Mike, again, he's think about it, he's a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And he's praising the Eagles offensive line, and he's praising A.J. Brown. He's praising Miles Sanders. Cowboys fans are probably mad at him too, because he's talking them up.
John, I want to ask you about something else with the Eagles. I've asked this a couple of people already, and I wanted to bring it up with you. Since Nick Sirianni gave up the play calling, handed it off to Shane Steichen during the regular season, the Eagles are now 19-4. What does that say to you?
And I asked Nick about that today at his press conference. I've said, and Jody McDonald can tell you this. I'm a big fan of CEO coaches. I think that's the way you should do it. And Nick here is putting a lot of check marks in my column for thinking that. I mean, he always says he wants a signature on every single part of this team, and in too many buildings around the NFL. You have your little fiefdoms, offense, defense, and they don't really communicate. In a lot of ways, most teams have a head coach, obviously, and they have they're either their expertise is on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, and probably the better descriptive title would be, head coach of the offense and head coach of the defense. But that's not how they do it. They obviously label one who is sort of the lightning rod. But most offensive-minded coaches don't even bother with the defense. They hire a defensive coordinator, and they say, okay, do your work. And I've always thought the CEO approach over the years and the coaches who have done that and have their thumb in every part of the pie, those are the better coaches. And I think that's the way to do it. And every time I see a young coach do it, it's really impressive because the thought process is, you're sort of weak for doing that. And Nick still gets that, by the way. As successful as he's been, there are people who say he gave up play calling because he can't call plays. Had nothing to do with it. He just felt the job was too big. And there were other things and other aspects of the team that he couldn't address on game day. And he made the change, and it's been tremendously successful. And I think every NFL team should, in a copycat league, that's how everybody should be doing it, to be honest.
I mean, I got to think part of it has to be ego, right, John? Like, I remember Doug Peterson was asked about this years ago, and he was like, well, I love calling plays. I wouldn't want to do this if I couldn't call plays. And it feels like someone like Doug Peterson or a guy like Brandon Staley with the Chargers, like for them, it's like they have this like level of like ego built into the fact that they're play calling.
Yeah, it's a big part because there's another cliche around the league that is if you're hiring a scheme, you're doing it wrong when you do hire a head coach. But everybody hires schemes. They don't listen to it. Hire the hot commodity. And, Sean McVay, probably when he first got the Rams job, because he's been sort of the template everybody's trying to copy. When he first got the Rams job, Wade Phillips was the defensive coordinator. He wouldn't even pay attention when the defense was on the field. He would go sit down with the quarterback. He would, be with the iPad. I hate, the MS tablets. They spend all that money, and everybody calls them iPads, but that's another thing. And he would not pay any attention. And I always said that's not the way to do this. Now, he's had tremendous success. So the vast majority of teams still do it that way and hire a play caller, whether it's offensive or defensive, and they don't pay as much attention to the other side of the ball or special teams. And, you should change the title, Sam, to be honest, because are you the head coach of the team or are you not? And Nick Sirianni's the head coach of this team. There's no doubt about it. And if something's going wrong on defense, he'll address it. And if something's going wrong on special teams, has this year, he'll address it. And, he wants that responsibility, and he should. And it's been, as you mentioned, by the numbers, and really it was the Chargers game. So, there's some discrepancy on when he handed it over. But I got it, behind the scenes. The Chargers game last year was the first game that Shane Steichen, called plays. And they lost that game, 27-24. So since that loss, and that was the first week, so you're kind of doing it on the fly. As you mentioned, that number if you want to include the playoffs, it's 18-4. If you don't, in the regular season, it's 18-3. And if you think about those 3 losses, one was in MetLife last year. We all know Jalen Hurts' worst game.
Yep.
But they still would have won that game if Jalen Reagor could have came down with two of those throws late in the game. They still would have won it. And then you go to late in the season against Dallas when they sat everybody because they were already in the playoffs. They weren't even trying to win. And then you have the one loss this year. So it's been a tremendous, tremendous success for him making that shift.
John McMullen joining us here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Of course, John covers the Eagles for JAKIB Media, Eagles 365 Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John, a couple more before I let you go. I know that this week there's a lot of meetings going on with the NFL. Part of those meetings are about, trying to, get more diversity in the GM and coaching ranks. And we know that Jonathan Gannon had multiple head coach interviews last offseason. We know that both him and Steichen are going to be in the conversation, but not to embellish the point, but neither one of them are minorities. Meanwhile, guys like Deuce Staley, Eric Bieniemy, D'Amico Ryans, they are all still coordinators. So, give us the scuttlebutt around the league about these guys, their candidacies, and what you expect this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, they'll both be significant parts of the process. And if things continue to go the way they're going, I mean, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I guarantee you Shane Steichen's going to be head coach in this league next year. And Jonathan Gannon's going to have a very good chance. And the only reason I won't guarantee Gannon is because he's a defensive guy. And most teams, not every team, obviously, but most teams still default to looking for an offensive mind first. And that kind of hamstrings him as well. But he had 3 different teams interview him last year. So he was ahead last year, and he almost got the Houston job until they buckled to some criticism and went in a different direction. Ultimately, anytime it's a defensive name, as I said, it's more difficult for those guys. Shane, we just mentioned the numbers since he became the play caller. If they win the Super Bowl, obviously, whatever they end up, 16-1, 15-2, whatever, and a Super Bowl on top of it, yeah, I mean, that's a fait accompli. He's going to be a head coach, and that's part of the success. And Howie Roseman talked about it this offseason about, everybody pilfering from Philadelphia's front office. And that's just part of it. And you got to have people ready. And Nick's already talked about certain guys that he's got an eye on. Alex Tanney, the former quarterback in this league, is a younger coach. Kevin Petullo is very close. If you remember when Nick got COVID last season and there was a chance he was going to miss the game, Kevin was going to be the head coach, the acting head coach, because they didn't want to upset the coordinators in their typical jobs. Brian Johnson, the quarterback's coach, has gotten a ton of credit for Jalen Hurts' development. Denard Wilson is sort of second in command on the defensive side of the ball. Nick Rollis is a very young guy, dynamic that everybody's kind of looking for. So Nick's kind of got that already in motion, and we'll see if it works out. But I always go back to 99, that Andy Reid coaching staff, that first Andy Reid coaching staff, if the fans have an opportunity to go online and look at it, it is unbelievable how many guys came off that coaching staff and became head coaches. But even Andy Reid, when you keep taking hits and keep taking hits on your coaching staff and you lose good coaches, it's tough to replace them. So it's another reason why the Eagles have to take advantage of this championship window, because they're going to lose coaches.
At JF McMullen on Twitter. Make sure you watch Birds 365 on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John McMullen and Jody Mack Monday through Friday mornings. And John will be back tomorrow here on the Sports Bash to talk more Eagles on 97.3 ESPN. John, appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk soon.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on a Wednesday edition on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Still to come in less than 20 minutes from now, Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City will join us. Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. And also 5:30 tonight, we will talk football with Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports. All that and your messages on the other side. 609-403-0973. Glenn EHC. I'll get to your message coming up this hour as well here with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN.
Get the gift of 97.3 ESPN this year for Christmas. It's cheaper than gift cards.
Merry Christmas!
Just tell a friend to download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free in the Apple Store or Google Play.
Merry Christmas!
This report is brought to you by EMT Solar and Roofing. EMT Solar and Roofing can help you get qualified for a free roof with solar installation. Apply now at espnsolar.com.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Platt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow with peace of mind. Matt Platt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Platt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Requalifications exist with approved credits. $27.78 per thousand finance on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
Let me guess. Unknown caller. You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
O'Reilly. Improve visibility in your vehicle and save $10 on a pair of Trico Force wiper blades now at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Don't risk your safety because of bad wiper blades. Be ready for any weather. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades for free. Visit your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or O'Reillyauto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
The last thing I remember, I was outside Chicky and Pete's.
Of course, George. Chicky and Pete's is Philadelphia's most decorated and award-winning restaurant.
I give each of the kids a Chicky and Pete's gift card. It's the gift that always fits.
It's almost as good as getting your wings.
Yeah, that's right, Clarence. You can get your wings at Chicky's, and crab fries and lobster pizza and a hot beef sandwich.
You see, George, it really is a wonderful place, this Chicky and Pete's.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Can't go to the game? Be at the center of the action at Chickies and Pete's, your favorite local sports bar, and enjoy our exclusive in-game experience. The sound surrounds you. The energy takes over. You feel like you're at the game, but you're only at Chickies and Pete's. Even better, no concession lines. Go to Chickies and Pete's on game day for our one-of-a-kind in-game experience. You're in the game at Chickies and Pete's.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts, big and small, for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99. Only at Banana Republic Factory.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding.
Hi, New Jersey. This is Larry Styler, founder of East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows, your local exterior contractor for over 40 years. Your home projects can't always wait for the weather to get warmer. Here at East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows, we work hard year-round to ensure you and your family are safe and secure when the unpredictable weather of New Jersey hits. Don't worry about our team. We have long johns and we'll wear them. Don't suffer. Trust us with your family and home this winter. Schedule your free consultation today by calling 609-262-2004. That's 609-262-2004. Or visit us at eastcoastroofing.com. And remember, if you call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding. Trust us with your family and home.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
$3:30 on a Wednesday afternoon. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. I want to get to this text from Glenn and EHT because I think Glenn brings up a very interesting point, and it in many ways ties in to what John and Emory Hunt were both saying earlier in the show. Because you heard two different people today on the Sports Bash talk about their issue with the head coach who calls the plays for themselves. Well, one of those coaches who calls plays himself is Kyle Shanahan. And Glenn EHC chimes in because earlier we're talking about, Sean McVay versus Kyle Shanahan. And Glenn said, Kyle Shanahan to me has not really been held accountable because we just gloss over the fact that he was in charge of two offenses that had leads in the Super Bowl, and you can make an argument that his play calling cost his teams those games. He's had success in this league, but he's also had big-time blunders in the biggest game. But we seem to never mention that. Glenn, it's an interesting point because, one, Kyle Shanahan is one of those coaches who himself calls plays. And there's very few coaches, as John McMullen mentioned and Emory Hunt have mentioned, who have had steady and consistent success calling their own plays. And I find it interesting that, as Glenn mentioned, he's right. There is a tendency by the general sports media, national or regional, to bypass the fact that Shanahan had two leads and his play calling was part of the demise of those teams. Now, my position on the Kyle Shanahan thing is this. My position on Shanahan is the fact that when you look at what Shanahan has done in the regular season and getting his teams to championship games, I think that that is the reason why people like myself give him the credit that we give him. But as John McMullen and Emory Hunt both said, when you are the head coach and you're also the play caller, it does have an impact on that team's success generally. Now, I do think that part of Shanahan's lack of success, we'll call it, in finishing games on the biggest stage as the O coordinator for the Falcons and as the head coach of the 49ers, I can't blame all on him. Glenn EHT is right. He does deserve some blame. But you also got to say that their defenses should have done a better job. I mean, you have, 28-3 that the Patriots were losing before they came back? The Falcons' defense has got to get stopped, right? And the 49ers' defense, they held Patrick Mahomes in check, and then Mahomes' magic kicked in. So in those situations, I'm not going to sit here and blame Shanahan for the defense, but you're right. We do have a tendency to look at Shanahan and give him a pass and not bring up the fact that when you compare him to McVay lost a Super Bowl because his quarterback was completely unable to execute at the highest level. And then the next quarterback McVay got helped them win a championship. Shanahan's also been there with two different quarterbacks. Both those quarterbacks, I would argue, weren't the reason why they lost those games. Maybe Shanahan does deserve more blame, as Glenn EHC says. But it gets back to the bigger picture. John McMullen saying that the Shane Steichen play calling more so started with the Chargers game. Well, again, if you factor in regular season, the postseason, Nick Sirianni taking the play calling out of his own hands, giving it to Steichen, the team is 18-4. I think that we're going to start seeing this continued tug of war between play caller versus non-play caller when it comes to football, because a lot of these guys are getting opportunities because of play calling. They're not getting opportunities because they're great managers. Because if that was the case, Deuce Staley would be a head coach by now. But guys like Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, these guys are getting jobs because they are play callers, because they are the ones who are making these calls on game day. So how do you move away from the play calling coach to the CEO coach? I don't have an answer for it, but it's a good question that Glenn EHT brought up. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Mike Begay with the Press of Atlantic City joins us next. We'll talk some about the NFC East with him, as well as the Sixers. They've won 5 straight home games, but doesn't mean anything. We'll ask Mike McGarry coming up next here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
We never stop talking Eagles and NFL. It's football at 4, every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
The JCPenney Mystery Sale is back for the holidays through Thursday, ushering huge holiday savings with our in-store coupon giveaway. Peel and reveal your deal to save. We got your holiday.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. It looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts, big and small, for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99. Only at Banana Republic Factory.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Blatt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue. That's a brand new Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down. And AJ says you'll get more cash than you think and drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/31/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township. Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by the Ocean Casino Resort, the Gallery, bar booking, games. Cheer your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery at Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City joins the Sports Bash every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we talk with him. He was nice enough to shift things around and join us a little bit later in the show today. Mike, welcome back in. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good. So give me the Mike McGarry perspective on the NFC East with all 4 teams, if the season ended today, are in the playoffs.
Well, right now, I think the Eagles are the clear-cut NFC favorite for the Super Bowl, and Jalen Hurts is a clear-cut front-runner for MVP, and I don't expect that to change between now and the end of the season, barring a major injury. The Eagles are in a position where all that is going to be standing between them and a potential Super Bowl is a win over either Dak Prescott and an aging Tom Brady, and then a victory over Brock Purdy. That is all that is possibly standing between the Eagles and a Super Bowl Super Bowl appearance. The Giants and Commanders, I think the winner of this Sunday night's game makes the playoffs. I think the loser struggles with the Seahawks possibly edging them out. I think the winner of this Sunday night game is in. And I don't know what to make of the Cowboys. They're a talented football team with a talented defense, talented skill positions. But when I watch them play, every time Dak Prescott drops back to throw, I'm terrified because it seems like he throws nothing but 50-50 balls that have the potential to be intercepted. And the Texans did intercept a couple last Sunday. So Prescott's play really worries me if I was a Dallas Cowboy fan.
What are your thoughts on Micah Parsons questioning if Jalen Hurts should be an MVP candidate? Micah Parsons, for those who didn't hear, was on the Von cast with Von Miller, asking, is it Hurts or is it the team?
Well, I mean, in any case, it's Hurts is part of the team. You cannot separate one from the other. And I think anybody who's watched the Eagles play this year would say that Hurts has been a major impact and a major plus from last season. The growth and his ability to play quarterback this season as opposed to last is night and day. So I don't know sometimes what Micah Parsons is saying. I think he should stick to defense he'd be better off.
I mean, I made the comment earlier, and I wasn't trying to be mean to Parsons, but, when Von Miller pressed back on him because if you watch the whole thing, Von Miller does a great job of presenting the other side of the argument, right? And Micah Parsons' answer is, well, I'm just speaking my mind because I know football. And it reminds me of the guy at the bar who's like, I played football 30 years ago. I know more than the NFL head coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. I mean, to me, it's not a very smart opinion, especially with the way the Eagles handled the Cowboys the first time they played them. I mean, look, anybody with two eyes that has watched the Eagles play this year clearly sees what Jalen Hurts means to the team and his ability with his legs and arm to cause problems for opposing defenses like the Eagles did against the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. I don't seem to remember in that first game that Micah Parsons had a whole tremendous amount of success. So perhaps he should get a couple sacks in the game against the Eagles, and then he can come back and give his opinion on who the MVP should be.
Now, we know that the Eagles are preparing for Chicago this week. Dallas Goedert had his window for practice activated. The expectation is he could play this week. But, Mike, without him, they scored 48, 35, and 40 points. So how much better could this offense be with Dallas Goedert?
Obviously his presence when he comes back is going to improve an offense that is already operating at a high efficiency. And for that reason, I don't rush him back. I take my time getting him back and make sure when he comes back, he's ready to go and is 100% healthy because of the way they played. The Eagles have that luxury now where they don't have to rush guys back. I mean, the Eagles are, another Minnesota loss or another Dallas loss. I mean, they're right there to sort of making the last, 3 weeks of the season kind of meaningless for them.
You mentioned the last few weeks of the season being meaningless. So what do you say to the fan out there who's screaming at the radio right now, Mike, you can't not play your guys for multiple weeks and have the bye week because then you're going to have the game in the division round?
Well, I'm not a guy who believes in resting players and taking them out of the lineup, continuously. I would continue to play the guys. Now, I'd be careful with them. Maybe if you got a lead in the fourth quarter, you take a couple guys out. But I agree with that. I'm not a guy. I'm not in favor of, people resting and taking multiple weeks off. I kind of take it easy. Now, I've got a feeling, no inside information, the way the Eagles have sort of handled things, I think you are going to see a lot of guys resting just because of their kind of philosophy and training camp and stuff like that. But who are we to argue? I mean, if you look around the NFL and you look at the Eagles, look at the Giants injuries, for example, and look at the Eagles injuries. And whatever the Eagles are doing, and to a large degree, I think injuries are luck and happenstance, but the Eagles are healthy. So you can't argue with what they've done and how they've sort of, planned out their season. So if they choose over the next final 2 weeks of the season to rest and get a bye week and have 3 weeks off, I mean, I just shrug my shoulders. We'll see what we'll see. But there's they've got one loss. They're the best team in football. Now's the time to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joining us here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Wednesday on 97.3 ESPN at AC Press McGarry on Twitter. Mike, let's get to the Sixers because they've now won 5 straight home games. So are they back? Are they getting better? What do you do with the Sixers right now?
Meaningless, wait and see. I know Embiid is playing better, but for example, the Brooklyn, I always like to ask fans, like, imagine what, take a look at another team, and do you think that team is headed for an NBA title because they've done what the Sixers have done? The Sixers have won 5 straight home games. The Brooklyn Nets just finished up a 7-game homestand where they're 6-1. They're 17-12. The Eagles are 15-12. If I asked a Sixer fan, do they think the Brooklyn Nets are headed to an NBA title? They would probably tell me no. So there you go. The New York Knicks are playing better. The New York Knicks are 14-13. The Sixers are 15-12. If I asked a Sixer fan and said, hey, do you think the Knicks are headed for an NBA title? They would probably tell me no. So the Sixers at 15-12, I don't think they're headed for an NBA title. We will see. I think clearly Boston and Milwaukee are the best teams in the East. And then you look at that third division winner. I think it's Atlanta would get the 3 seed. I think I looked at it today. I think the Sixers are in the 6 seed spot right now, which puts them in the play-in tournament. So, they're getting some guys back. Embiid is playing well. But again, I don't see anything that inspires a lot of confidence in me. And in the long run, I don't think any questions about this team can be answered until the second round of the playoffs.
That's a long time away, Mike. That's a long time. That's
that's the problem right now. To me, the Sixers are just another team in the NBA. Okay, they're not an elite team in the NBA. I don't look at them the same way you would look at the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks as a team that you can say so far has established itself as an NBA championship contender. The Sixers are not there. They're just another team. I hate to say it. They're like the Brooklyn Nets. They're like the New York Knicks. They're like the Atlanta Hawks. They got some good players. They have some not so good players. They win some games. They lose some games. Embiid scores some points. He misses some games. Just another team.
It's a lot of money to have invested in a team that's just another team, right? Like, I mean, if you're Brooklyn and Philadelphia, you have these superstars, right? We call them superstars, and Embiid and Harden and Durant and Kyrie. And it's like, oh, they're just a team. Like, isn't that a bad narrative to have around two organizations that are supposedly in it to win it?
Yeah, I mean, that is correct. I mean, it is not where the Sixers, I bet you, envision themselves being at this point in the season. Now, that's just how I feel now. That if they continue on this streak and Harden continues to get better and Maxey comes back and Embiid stays healthy and continues to play like this, maybe they go on a run and maybe the narrative completely changes. Remember, at this time last year, the Boston Celtics were struggling. They were at 500 or maybe even a little bit below 500. People thought they were a disaster. People were talking about, hey, Tatum and Jaylen Brown can't play together. You got to break them up. Which one are they going to trade? Then in January, they found themselves and they went on a great run, and then they were in the NBA final, and now they come back this year, and they're the best team in basketball, I think. So the narrative can change, from today's December 14th. It can change by January 14th, but as of right now, I look at the Sixers as what they are, a 5th, 6th seed in the East, just another team kind of scuffling their way through the NBA season. Maybe that'll change, but right now, that's how I feel.
Mike, you write the must-win column in the Press of Atlantic City, so I'm going to paraphrase and ask you, are the Sixers a team that must make a trade?
I don't know if they have to make a trade. They haven't had a lot of their pieces healthy together. They haven't had a lot of players healthy together, so I think they can just get together. I mean, you look at what Boston did last year. They really didn't make a trade. It's just the guys on the team sort of accepted their role. I think Marcus Smart settled in at the point guard spot. Tatum took it to a new level. Brown took it to a new level. So I think that's there for them. I think the pieces might be there. We all kind of liked what they did in the offseason, right? I mean, I was a fan of the offseason moves, although PJ Tucker does look like he's about 8,000 years old out there. But we were all a fan of him, bringing in Maybury House. We were all a fan of those moves. Maybe they need time to sort of get together and play together. So I don't know if a trade is the answer. And the bottom line is you're not really shaking up that core. I mean, you might bring in a guy on the fringe, but I don't see you're not dealing Harden, you're not dealing Embiid, you're not trading Tobias Harris, you're not trading Maxey. So the core of the team will be the core of the team.
He's Mike McGarry from the Press of Lake City at AC Press McGarry on Twitter. And, of course, he'll be back on Friday's edition of the Sports Bash to talk more here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, appreciate you jumping on today. We'll talk soon.
All right, Josh, take care. Thanks.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Still to come on the Sports Bash, Geoff Mosher will join us Football at 4 in the next hour. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast will get his perspective on the Eagles and more NBA talk in the next hour with Keith Smith from Spotrac, NBA Insider. Because I asked Mike McGarry the question about the trade because starting tomorrow, a huge portion of the league is available to be traded. The deadline for, I think it's basically like 89% of the league can be traded. So we'll get the perspective from Keith Smith. I asked Mike McGarry, is a trade in the 76ers future? Because just a few weeks ago, people were screaming for the rooftops, this team stinks, they need to make a trade. Well, can they make a trade? We'll ask Keith Smith, NBA Insider, coming up in less than an hour here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, Sixers Warriors tickets. You want to win them? You got to go to 97.3ESPN.com or jump on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. If you want to win Sixers Warriors tickets for this Friday night, you got to go on the app. You got to go on the website in order to sign up for your chance to win Sixers Warriors tickets.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2022 season this Sunday in Chicago against the Bears.
Takes the snap. He's back. Here comes the run. They've got him again. They've got him.
Pre-game coverage starts at noon with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 1 p.m. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagle station.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. That's what the holiday season is all about. And one spice worth paying attention to is cinnamon. Not only is cinnamon a versatile spice that can be used in tons of recipes, it's good for us too. It's been linked to stabilizing blood sugar levels and may help lower cholesterol. Plus, cinnamon is a good source of antioxidants, and it's great for our digestive system. It can help reduce bloating and increase nutrient absorption. And cinnamon is a natural anti-inflammatory, so it promotes joint health. A small amount, just a teaspoon a day, is all we need. We can add it to our morning oatmeal, smoothie, or hot drink for an extra boost of flavor. Or sprinkle some on our favorite fruit for a sweet and healthy snack. However you do it, add a sprinkle of cinnamon to your life today. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a
Matt Black Kia. Requalifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand finance on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
At the Home Depot, we have the tools for you to give the gift of a smarter home with savings on top brands, like the Google Hub, a command center for your smart devices that raises the IQ of your entire home, or the Nest Learning Thermostat that helps you conserve energy and save on your bill. And if you don't know what to get, gift cards are a smart gift no matter what they get. So this year, gift smarter with savings on tools to make your holiday magic. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
With all the sports we have, every time of the year is the best time of the year.
And the crowd just buzzing with excitement.
On 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher.
My personality is I want to win badly. I want to win more Lombardis for Philadelphia and our fans. We got the greatest fans around, and I will do everything possible.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on a Wednesday edition of the Sports Bash. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. The latest edition with Geoff Mosher and Adam Kaplan dropped this morning. The game tape review on all your podcast streaming platforms. Geoff Mosher's back here on Football at 4 to talk more about the Eagles. Has got a little news the last couple of days. We got a review with Geoff. Geoff, did you just get a fresh haircut? You look pretty good today, man.
I did, Joshua. Thank you very much. You look good yourself.
Well, I just look good because I'm on camera and you can see me. That's the only reason why.
We'll go with that.
Geoff, a bunch of stuff to get to with the Eagles. First, over with the news that happened this morning. Dallas Goedert, the 21-day window is activated, but it looks like he is going to potentially be on the field on Sunday.
Yeah, and boy, have they missed him lately, man. They're only averaging almost 38 points a game in the last 3 games without him. So, boy, you just hope that when he comes in there that he can provide the spark that this offense really needs to get going. I'm sorry, I didn't know any other way to answer that, but it is a good thing to have the rich get richer, right? The tight end comes back. And the reality is that while they have been doing just fine without him, And there was a benefit when you have a season like this, right, Josh, when you're this dominant and you're doing well and careening toward the number 1 seed, and a guy like Dallas Goedert gets hurt, it's an opportunity for Jack Stoll and the rookie Grant Calcaterra to get in there and get more snaps and more time than they ordinarily would be getting if Dallas Goedert were healthy. And what you saw, I think, in these 3 weeks is some really good, it's sort of a microcosm of the team. You saw talent development so far. I mean, Grant Calcaterra played more snaps as it went. He went from like 25% in game 2 without Goddard to 29% to like 55% this past game. You saw him blocking, which was a big part of our podcast this morning. Did not come in here known as a blocker. He needs to get bigger in general, but he was a willing blocker and a good angle blocker in that game. And he helped the run game immeasurably along with contributing 2 catches. So, of course, everybody wants Dallas Goedert back. And then when you play the playoff teams, Dallas Goedert's your guy, but it was a sort of positive byproduct of his absence that those 2 guys, Stoll and Calcaterra, were able to get some snaps and show what they can do.
When you look at this offense moving forward, what does Dallas Goedert do for the offense? Like you said, it's already scoring all these points because he's a top 5 tight end in this league, right? He's a guy, I mean, I get it. It's Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews are like 1, 2, 3. But I mean, Dallas Goedert is not exactly like, that far behind those guys.
No, if you look at the season averages for the Eagles, Josh, he is still averaging the second most yards per game among the pass catchers for the Eagles at 60. I think he's right behind A.J. Brown. So I believe that's still the case now. At the time he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken, he was leading all NFL tight ends in yards after catch, the rack yards, the yak yards. So he brings that dimension to this offense that Stoll and Calcaterra, even as they're developing, obviously do not bring, or else you would say they're all equal, and they're not. Dallas Goedert is clearly a vintage tight end. I mean, a premier tight end in this league who does everything. And then I think, from a coaching standpoint, while the coaches probably enjoyed the opportunity and flourished in it, I would say, to put those other tight ends and scheme them so that they weren't giving away what they were doing. Calcaterra's blocking helped that. You would love to have Goedert in because there's no tells involved. You could be passing, you could be throwing.
Yeah, Calcaterra and blocking don't really go in the same sentence, Geoff. So I think.
But until last game,
did.
though, I mean, he was very impressive. Yeah.
It's not something we ever saw from him in college. And all of a sudden he's in there throwing his body in there for the blocking. You're just like, oh, all right.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because you could have said the exact same thing about Dallas Goedert coming out of South Dakota State. Now, Goedert, I think, is bigger than Calcaterra. He has the body that makes it look like if he wanted to block, he could. But that was a spread offense, I believe, that they ran and still probably do at South Dakota State. He did not and was not asked to block a whole lot. It was a question about him coming out, much like it was, Josh, for Brent Selleck coming out of Cincinnati, a guy who was a pass-catching tight end, wasn't the biggest, hulkiest blocker, but really excelled toward the end of his career to the point where when they drafted Zach Ertz, he literally was your first and second down tight end, Brent Selleck. But he was a good angle blocker, figuring out ways to, he had a lot of help from Juan Castillo, along with, I think Ted Williams was the tight ends coach at the time. And they've got good coaching at that position throughout the years. That's one of the positions where you look at with the Eagles and you say, even from coach to coach, from regime to regime, they've always seemed to be able to develop good talent at that spot.
Geoff, the other news that came out this week is Aaron Siposs on injured reserve, right? And all of a sudden we get another former All-Pro coming in here. Brett Kern joins Ndamukong Suh along with the other guys off the street available, just conveniently available for the Eagles.
Yeah, the Senior Citizen Center keeps churning them in and out. But this is an interesting one. And actually, all right, it's not, I was going to say this is unique, but it's really not, because if we're being fair, and we talked about this on the podcast today, Josh, and this is not meant to be disparaging or disrespectful to anybody on the Eagles or what's going on, but Linval Joseph's going to keep playing because at this moment, he's a better nose tackle than Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis has some tremendous physical gifts, and he did make a difference at times when he was on the field for the Eagles. But there were also, as we've talked about a lot on our pregame show with Greg Cosell, in our tape study and our sources, he can't play like 8-9 snaps in a row without losing leverage, getting tired. I mean, he's really learning how to be a football player instead of just an athlete. Whereas Linval Joseph understands everything about you. You've seen it. I mean, he walked onto the field day one and made a huge difference in that game against, was it the Colts, I think, was his first game. So he's going to continue to play. And it's a rare situation, right, where you brought in a guy off the street who's really better at his craft than your young player at that position. And I think that's fair to say. It's definitely fair to say about the situation at punter, where Brett Kern, is a better and more accomplished punter than Aaron Sipos. So we'll see how long Sipos is out. But we talked about this, and Adam made the point too, that I would be surprised if Kern just wasn't your punter for the rest of the year. Yeah, and what a savvy move, by the way, real quick, to not sign him to the 53 right now, because you have 3 elevations for him. So it sort of enables you to have an extra position player on game day for the next 3 weeks.
Well, I'm assuming that extra spot is being held for Goddard, right?
No, because Sipos went on IR, right? So then Goddard replaced it. But now, because yes, that was held for Goddard, correct. But now that you don't have to sign the punter to the 53 and you can elevate him, it's sort of still extra guys. Because if they signed him to the 53 and brought Goddard back, then somebody else would also have to go.
Right, gotcha. So then what do you think that means long-term? Because you're only allowed 3 call-ups, right? So, guys like Christian Ellis is doing a great job on special teams. Is he a guy who they're going to have to eventually plug into the roster, right?
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing for Ellis. He's got 1 elevation left. That'll probably be this Sunday against Chicago. And then if they want to continue, they'll have to sign him to the 53. That's just the reality of it. So we'll see what kind of moves are made between now and then. Someone might get hurt. It might make every week the Eagles seemingly lose a guy for a little bit here. So it may dictate itself. But what's really fascinating, Josh, if you really want to think about it, in the postseason, the elevations reset, and there are no limits on them. You can get elevated, if you're playing 5 postseason games, you get elevated 5 times. So the Eagles have 4 games left, and they have 3 elevations to use Kern for, the punter, right? What if week 18, the final game, where you would have to theoretically sign Kern to your 53 to use him? What if they've clinched everything that they can clinch? There's nothing to lose. Do they just go into that game without a punter and keep Kern on the practice squad and don't elevate him that week? And then you've got limitless elevations for him when you go into the playoffs. It really doesn't matter, because if the game doesn't matter, what do you even need the extra spot for? You can make the argument, but you might want to play certain players or have depth. You're still trying to potentially win the game. It's just sort of a fascinating kind of look ahead to what might happen.
Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast joining us for Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Well, Geoff, that gets me back to the question I asked yesterday on the show, which is, in sports, right? You know how Philadelphia sports are. If something's going wrong, we want a boogeyman. We want to blame somebody, right? How about I wanted to flip the page the other side there. Who gets the more of the credit for the Eagles being 12-1? And I limited people to just Nick Sirianni or Howie Roseman. So to you, Geoff, is it the guy who bought the groceries, or is it the guy cooking the food?
Oh, man. I have to choose between Howie and Nick on who's been who gets more credit for this. I guess I have to go with Howie, only because I would say this is the best 53-man roster and that I've seen. Now, you could say they're playing so well, the coaches are making it look that way, or you can just simply look at the talent. It's like the guys they brought in for other places were pretty talented before they got here, right? James Bradbury had made Pro Bowls. C.D. Gardner-Johnson is having a career year, but he's always been a starter on that Saints defense at the nickel spot, and he's always been a good player. Trying to think. I mean, obviously, A.J. Brown was a Pro Bowler, 1,000-yard receiver before he got here. So I guess I would tilt the scales toward Howie in that regard. I don't mean to say I hate it. I don't mean to say I hate crediting Howie. I just hate having to choose between guys who are all doing great jobs,
Yeah, for me, people want, like fire Joe Girardi, fire Doc Rivers, right? Like that's how Philadelphia is. And it's like, I just was thinking like, well, when people are doing well, why don't we hand out some flowers? I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but
Yeah.
I always had the back of my mind, the Bill Parcells thing, I want to be, the idea of, I want to be involved in buying the groceries, right? So like, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but I think it's an interesting conundrum to discuss because of the fact that, how many times have we heard about the collaboration between the coaching staff and the front office, right? So it's like, Howie went out and did what he was asked to do, and then the coaches ran with it. So, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer.
I'm with you. There seems to be very good harmony right now. The process that they have in place seems to work. There were people who felt, maybe correctly, that when Jeffrey Lurie hired Nick Sirianni, and when Howie Roseman obviously, brought, when they did the interviews, that they were looking for a head coach that could play nicely with them because they run the organization from the top. And while at the time, think of all the cynicism involved because the Eagles are coming off that 2020 season, people say, oh, he's just the next puppet. And maybe the reality is that Nick Sirianni is happy to be the coach and let Geoff and Howie get the players the way they do, and that there is a good harmony there. And you can call it a puppet, whatever you want. I'm sure these guys have their opinions and their voice, but maybe Nick Sirianni is not like Bill Parcells and does not want the whole make me the, give me more power. I want to be able to pick my players, because he seems to be doing fine with the players that were given to him.
Well, it's funny you said that because Sirianni is also the guy who gave up play calling last year. And depending on if you want to make the Lions game or the Chargers game the line of delineation, the Eagles are either 18-4 or 19-4 since Sirianni gave other play calling. So you could make a larger argument that Sirianni is more than happy to be the CEO of this team.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, when you're 12-1, there's probably not too many things not to be happy about. So yeah, they're good. They're good.
The injury report came out about 10 minutes ago, Geoff, and I think that's the other part of the news came out this week. So Reed Blankenship is a DNP, did not practice with the knee injury designation. They brought back Anthony Harris to the practice squad. Of course, Anthony Harris was the starter last year, didn't make the team this year. You could argue in part because of Blankenship. So, your thoughts on Harris being back and Blankenship being on the injury report.
So Harris is signed to the practice squad. I have no intel on this. I haven't looked into it. I will by the end of the week. But I think you saw last week that when Avonte Maddox came back to play the slot, Josiah Scott moved into that kind of hybrid safety role in either nickel or dime, whatever package they were in. This defense is more meant for guys who can run. Josiah Scott can run. He used to be a cornerback. He came here as a cornerback. He runs better than Anthony Harris. And the type of matchup zone that they're playing, it's more important to have guys who can do that. Even if you're not the fastest guy, can you run, than it is being sort of a big, strong tackling guy like Anthony Harris. So what I suspect is, with Reed Blankenship out and with CD still out, I suspect Josiah Scott, who was here the whole year and last year, and who made the team, was not cut, will continue to play on the defense and sort of man that role that CD and Reed Blankenship were playing. And Anthony Harris could probably help the team out in special teams, whereas tackling can be a bonus. I think people have already assumed that Anthony Harris is here to be the starting safety on defense because he's Gannon's guy and he was here last year. And they're sort of forgetting the fact that he was cut by the Eagles, whereas Josiah Scott was kept, and that Harris was then put on the practice squad and then allowed to go from the Eagles. And then he went and joined the team and they cut him. So the writing on the wall to me suggests that for what the Eagles are doing and for where Anthony Harris is at, Josiah Scott is the more likely guy to see time on defense, and Harris may come up to for A, depth, and B, to help the special teams. But do remember, like, there's also Kevon Wallace that is on the team when Anthony Harris was not. So for Anthony Harris to go from being on the street to now your second best safety on the totem pole behind Marcus Epps, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I keep hearing this like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to start Anthony Harris this week. And I'm not certain that that's the case.
Well, you mentioned Wallace. That's kind of where I was going to go next, because I've watched that game twice, Geoff, and I see a lot of the back of Wallace's jersey chasing people. And you just said, this is a defense that you need to be able to run.
Yeah.
I don't know who the better option is between Harris and Wallace, because Wallace had some really bad moments in that game on Sunday.
Right. And that's why the better option is Josiah Scott. And if you're in a dime and you want to bring in another back, like you might want to just go a little heavy at corner, like, some other teams do, and bring Zach McPherson in. So we'll see. But to your point, you're correct. I mean, Kevon Wallace, he's only played in certain packages. And when he's usually sort of more around the line than he is around the deep part of the field, or in short area coverage. So this is obviously a position that we'll be talking about a lot in the offseason, like we are every offseason about Eagles and safeties, because Gardner Johnson's deal is up after this year. Marcus Epps' deal is up after this year. Kevon Wallace will be entering the fourth year of a 4-year deal where he's obviously been low on the totem pole. And Josiah Scott, he might be on the last year of his deal. I mean, this is a position that's going to be very interesting to see how they address in the offseason.
Couple more for Jeff Mosher at Jeff Mosher NFL on Twitter. Latest issue of the Inside the Birds podcast dropped this morning. The tape review with Adam and Jeff. Jeff, I want to ask you about, it's become a hot news item, so I'm just putting it out there. Whole
here we go.
Micah Parsons and Von Miller. And listen, I said it earlier, Jeff. I give Von Miller a lot of credit for pushing back on what Micah was saying. He was trying to be, the wiser, smarter guy, say, well, it can be both the team and Hurts are successful. And it felt like Micah, and I'm not trying to diss Micah Parsons, okay? And I know you're sitting there wearing a Penn State shirt over there on the video.
That's okay.
But Micah, when he turned to Von Miller, after Von gave a great explanation on the Voncast, he says, well, I got to speak my mind, and I know football, and I really understand these things. And it's like, he reminds me of the guy at the bar who says the football coach is wrong because he played football 30 years ago. And I feel like Micah is just the guy who doesn't want to admit that he might be wrong about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think, man, there's so many different levels. And by the way, I have not seen the entire podcast or everything that was said, but I have seen what you referenced.
If you want to waste about an hour and a half of your life, go ahead. If you don't.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I think that there's a lot here. First of all, Micah Parsons is a Cowboy, so I'm sure it's not easy for him to want to say anything praiseworthy about any individual on the Eagles. Just like, put a microphone in front of Darius Slay and ask him about going up against CeeDee Lamb or any other Cowboy wide receiver. I'm sure he's not going to be as praiseworthy as he might be some other guys in this league that he really likes. Or someone else, maybe Fletcher Cox, who's hated, been an Eagle forever. But to the point that they were discussing, it sounded to me like he wanted to not credit Jalen Hurts that much, and put it on the scheme. And I think if we could all just step back and remove all the homerism and allegiances and all, do remember that in the game that they played earlier this year, they out-schemed Micah Parsons, right? So Micah is just, I can only imagine he's looking at this from his own perspective. He had no opportunities to do what he wanted to do because they kept putting him in conflict, which is a great, great concept by the Eagles, right? Let's RPO him every time he's on the edge and make it so that he has to decide if he's going to be rushing or covering, and he won't know. So in his mind, that was the scheme that neutralized his abilities, right? I mean, that's how he lived it and saw it in the game. So he himself is probably more prone to wanting to credit the scheme. Maybe somebody else on the team, a corner who had to cover, or who had to cover AJ Brown that day, or Devontae Smith, would say, no, Jalen was making some amazing throws too. Don't forget about that. So it's one person, one experience, one game. a podcast, a lot of opinions flying, but I do agree that he felt like someone who wanted to not credit Jalen Hurts as much as the scheme. I think that is fair to say.
By the way, what about the irony of the fact that Hurts gets asked about it today? He says, I'm focused on Chicago. Jordan Mailata told the media Micah Parsons needs to be worried about his next game and not us coming up. Like, it feels like the Eagles.
That's not fair either. He's like on a podcast and somebody asks him a question. There's no fun. You're not on that podcast to say, I'm just on to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, I mean, the funny thing was, the mainstream media is only playing the one part of the audio. Correct. And what I did was earlier, I played what happened before that audio, because the whole topic came up because Von Miller said, well, there's 2 candidates for MVP right now. And Micah Parsons' response was, oh, you mean Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes? And Von's like, no, Jalen Hurts. And then that's when Micah started the whole, I don't know about that. And then Micah was bringing up the whole, the Eagles
he clearly doesn't
team.
Want to say that about Jalen Hurts.
Right? I mean, I got to give Micah credit, though. He gave a lot of praise to the Eagles' offensive line. He was saying the Eagles are the best O-line in the NFL. Yep. So, and Von was the one who was pushing back on him. He's like, well, dude, listen, Aaron Rodgers won MVP. Take all the talent away from him. He's not Aaron Rodgers anymore. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. And that's when the whole hemming and the haul and that Micah did, the majority of the media is going to.
Yeah. No, listen, I think that there's no one right answer here. And I think that all opinions should be welcomed. And I don't think it was as disrespectful as I know people got upset that he was making an analogy to Brock Purdy winning with the 49ers, but I don't think he was saying that Jalen Hurts is essentially Brock Purdy.
No, he wasn't.
What he was saying is when you have a great mix of talent around you, your talents are able to shine a little. This is what I assume he was saying. Look at the Niners. They're down to their 3rd string quarterback. They still haven't lost because they have a lot of talent around them. And that shows you how much the scheme and the talent matters. So people are like, oh my God, he compared him to Brock Purdy. No, I think Micah Parsons would tell you Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback than Brock Purdy. But you can still make an analogy in saying, look at a team and look at its scheme, look at its overall talent and how well it's able to do when it doesn't have what it expected to have at that point. So that's for here or there.
Yeah, well, Micah Parsons didn't help himself when he told Von Miller that I'm a fan of Brock Purdy and I never met him. I feel like people are holding that against him for dear life. So
yes, yeah. And by the way, like I would say to like Eagles fans, would you want any Eagle on a podcast talking glowingly about the Cowboys? You would kill an Eagle for talking glowingly about podcast. In fact, I should take back a remark I made earlier. Because I think last year, Darius Slay did make a very praiseworthy tweet for Trayvon Diggs when Diggs had an and you know what? The Eagles fans killed him for it because they don't want him talking nicely. So at some point, you have to sort of step outside your body and realize that what Micah Parsons is doing is what you would want your own guy to do as well.
He's Geoff Mosher at Geoff Mosher NFL on Twitter. InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast. Latest episode dropped this morning on the tape review. Like, subscribe, share it, 5-star review, the whole 9 yards over on whatever platform you get your podcast. Geoff, we will talk to you again next week where we will be talking more Cowboys.
Oh, yes, we will be. It's great. Always fun talking Eagles Cowboys.
Jeff, take care of yourself.
Have a good one. You too.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Sports Bash being brought to you by East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows, serving all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Visit them online at eastcoastroofing.com. Still to come, more Sixers NBA talk with Keith Smith, NBA insider, and more football talk with Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports at 5:30. All still to come here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Happy holidays to all of our listeners.
Ho, ho, ho! I downloaded the app. Now I take my favorite station all over the world.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
From 97.3 ESPN.
With new inventory arriving daily, find your award-winning Acura at your local Delaware Valley Acura dealer and reserve yours today.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with fresh limited quantity deals each day on tech to power every passion. Save on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget, special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Just call 877-ASK-DELL for Days of Deals savings. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Blatt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ the Trademan wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue. That's a brand new Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down. And AJ says you'll get more cash than you think and drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand financed. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/31/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. Earlier today, the Philadelphia Eagles opened the 21-day practice window for tight end Dallas Goedert. This means Goedert could be on track to return to the field and play this Sunday in Chicago. Listen to the Eagles play the Bears with barrel race of Mike Quick calling all the action on 97.3 ESPN kickoff at 1 p.m. Sixers won their 5th straight home game on Tuesday night with a 123-103 victory over the Sacramento Kings. The 76ers are back in action this Friday night when they host the Golden State Warriors. You can hear all the action starting at 7:30 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. If you want to be in attendance when the 76ers play the Warriors, then you should go to our website now for your chance to win tickets for this Friday night's game. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
You finally got that new car, so you called your insurance company.
Your call is important to us. Please hold.
We are the tippy top workshop insurance.
You ended that call with their jingle stuck in your head. Then you called NJM.
Thanks for calling NJM Insurance. This is Claudia. Let's see if we can save you up to 25% on your auto insurance.
No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Visit njm.com for a quote.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. A significant coastal storm, a nor'easter, arrives tomorrow, but the storm track is not a snowy one. In fact, heavy rain and wind will be the big concerns for tomorrow. Increasing clouds tonight, quiet and cold, low at 29. Rain arrives mid-morning tomorrow. Could be a little bit of icy mix just as things get started. Then we get soaked. Heaviest rain, strongest wind gusts tomorrow night, wrapping up sometime Friday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop.
Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby.
844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Sports Bash being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games and Ocean Resort Casino. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering your favorite team, and check out the brand new pop-up Jingle Bar. I mean, that's a cool idea. This whole idea that these pop-up, these, seasonal bars that some of these properties are doing, I think Ocean Casino Resort does the best version of it. So you can go to the Gallery Bar Booking Games before or after you go to the Jingle Bar, and you can get in on all the action, because when you go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort, you go for the win. For more information, visit oceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Before we get to Keith Smith, NBA Insider, coming up in a few minutes, I just wanted to follow up what Geoff was saying about the Eagles. I thought it was very interesting when he brought up the fact of the style of defense the Eagles run requires their players to do something specific. And that thing that they're asking them to do is be able to run, be able to chase, to be able to be in pursuit. And he brought up the fact that Anthony Harris may be on special teams, but it might be Josiah Scott back there at safety with Marcus Epps. And that, I think, gets us back to the conversation we had yesterday about Avonte Maddox, about the idea of the average Eagle fan loves to say, why could Maddox play safety? And you've heard multiple people now explain that Maddox, they need him in the slot. And, I'm going to trust somebody's eye of game tape who, their main job is covering the NFL, and they're giving information to people like John McMullen and Adam Kaplan and Jeff Mosher and others. We'll ask Jeff Curtis a little bit later as well. But I find it interesting, for me, that you have a team that runs a certain scheme, a certain style, a way of doing things, and without Blankenship and without CJ Gardner-Johnson, you're missing that element on the defense. And as I told you guys before, you can get away with not having CJ Gardner-Johnson for a couple weeks. I've told you guys this multiple times on game night here on 97.3 ESPN. Not having CJ Gardner-Johnson is not a big deal when you're playing limited passing offenses like the Giants and the Bears. But it's going to haunt you when you play a team like the Cowboys, because the Cowboys' offensive personnel and their quarterback is exceptionally better than what you're dealing with the Giants. And Justin Fields is still developing as a quarterback, and I don't think that offense is built very well around him. So you could argue that for one more week, you can get away with this. But after that, it's going to be a huge problem. All right, let's get into some NBA talk coming up next. Sixers have won 5 straight home games. They play the Warriors this Friday night, and you can win tickets to go see them. Just go to our website, 973ESPN.com, 973 ESPN mobile app. We'll ask Keith Smith his perspective on the 76ers coming up next with me, Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
The excitement of a big play.
Maxi of the line, he jams it, he blows by JAKIB, a burst that only Maxi has.
And all the drama of sports.
What a layup, what a play, and a brilliant pass. Hard with a two-hand bounce pass.
All in one place. 97.3 ESPN.
'Twas the month of December, and all through the lot, people were shouting about the offers they got.
I got more for my trade.
These are the best prices in town.
They bailed me out of my loan. I was upside down.
If you're worried about credit, stop. Just apply, because the staff at Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to see you in a new ride. Ho, ho, ho. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. Plus, every new Mitsubishi Outlander SUV puts 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Requalifications exist. Not all will qualify. $27.78 per thousand finance not approved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer or call 844-946-2315. 3122. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
When cold symptoms keep you up, try Vicks NyQuil Severe for max strength nighttime relief. Just one dose of Vicks NyQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Get some rest and feel better with Vicks NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, sore throat, stuffy nose, fever, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerry, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
At Lowe's, it pays to be a pro. Now through January 6th, Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards members earn 1 bonus point for every $1 spent on qualifying purchases with the Lowe's Business Credit Account. Redeem bonus points for cool rewards for your business. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Subject to credit approval, Lowe's terms and exclusions. See Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points and Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty term for details. U.S. only.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Main wreckage on the south side of the tracks. Report of male driver, late 20s, severe injuries.
Copy that. Can you see the vehicle?
No, it's way up there. I heard a witness say the stop arm was down, but he tried to beat the train anyway.
Too many drivers are killed crossing railroad tracks, even though they know a train is approaching. What they don't know is, even after it breaks, a train can take up to a mile to stop.
Requesting ambulance stretcher to shuttle crash victim back to the road.
Copy.
Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Nobody makes you feel like you're at the center of the action more than Chickies and Pete's with our exclusive in-game experience. Why go anywhere else? Get ready to feel the action on game day. You're in the game at Chickies and Pete's.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
As heard here on 97.3 ESPN last night, the 76ers won their 5th straight home game, but does it even matter? Because tomorrow is the day where a huge chunk of players will be allowed to start being traded. You know, Sixer fans are always disgruntled. So should the Sixers make a trade? Can they make a trade? We're going to ask Keith Smith, NBA insider with Spotrac.com right now about all of that here on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Keith, welcome back in. How you doing this holiday season?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So explain to the audience about the relevance of this week for the NBA and trades.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those things that's become like a big moment on the calendar, and people get all fired up because folks like me use terms like NBA trade season open. The reality is teams have been able to make trades for months, basically since July when the offseason started. But what happens tomorrow is that is the day when the vast majority of players who signed over the summer are able to be traded. So what that does is right now it's about 70-ish% of the players are trade eligible around the NBA. What will happen tomorrow is that number will jump up closer to 90%, become trade eligible. So that opens up more opportunities for deals. And teams generally see mid-December leading into the holiday period is kind of when deals start to open up a little bit more. So you've got a couple months of seeing your team. You have a sense of what you may need.
So let's pull that to the 76ers. Are the 76ers a team that could make a trade, or are they handcuffed?
They're not handcuffed by any means, and Daryl Morey is always active. He's always looking to upgrade the roster in, basically any way he can. So I think they've got a chance of making a trade. I don't think you're going to see them do any kind of major blockbuster. I think that kind of ship has sailed a little bit. One thing they have to be conscious of, they are working under the hard cap. So they do have to, stay under that number. I think they'd love to maybe get out of the luxury tax entirely if they can, knowing probably in the coming years they're going to be a pretty expensive team. But I never rule out Daryl Morey, because I think what he generally does is he kind of is always looking around the edges for ways to upgrade his rotation, even if it looks like, that's not, a huge move, but it may be something that pays off down the line by filling a need that a lot of us may have overlooked that the team has.
Now, in your eyes, what does this team need? Because this is a team like the Brooklyn Nets. They got superstars. There's all these expectations, all this hype in the offseason. And frankly, they had a pretty miserable month of November.
Yeah, this is not something you can trade for, but they just need to get and stay healthy. And it's almost that second point that becomes more important than the first, because they are going to get healthy. The question is, can they stay healthy? We have no reason to believe Tyrese Maxey will get injured again, but James Harden, Joel Embiid, those guys have long track records of missing time now. So you got to keep those guys on the court, but that's not something you can trade for. As far as something you could trade for, like 20 teams in the league, they could use another shooter. That's always something you would like to have, one more guy who can fit in around this group and gives them a little bit more shooting. And maybe they may want to consider, if they can find it, a backup center upgrade, somebody who can come in and really fill in just in case Embiid goes down, because when he's missed time, they've done okay kind of cobbling together those minutes. But I think you want to have something a little bit more sure, like what they had before they traded Andre Drummond last year.
Now, if you ask the average Sixer fan, Keith, their solution to everything is fire the head coach, right? We heard that for years with Brett Brown. There were Sixer fans. Listen, in the middle of Eagles season, I have random Sixer fan texting me and asking me, to the Sixers, you need to fire Doc Rivers. Like that's the mentality I'm talking about here. So does firing the coach actually fix anything with this team, or is this an issue only with the players on the floor?
I don't think it fixes anything right now. I think what you're looking at what Doc Rivers is, whenever somebody says fire the coach, my next question is, all right, well, who are you bringing in that's going to be better than the guy you have now? And generally, no one can give you a real answer to that. Or it's, all right, well, why do you want to fire the coach? Like, what is it that needs fixed? And it's usually something along the lines of they just need to win more. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't tell me anything. I think fire the coach is what you go to when you don't have any real analysis to kind of back up your point of like this team isn't very good. So or not as good as I expected it to be. So for me, I think there are certainly things that I don't agree with that Doc Rivers does. I don't think he does a good job staggering his lineups at all. I think he's, if anything, extremely poor at that. I think there's just way too many minutes with too many reserves on the court all at once. But at this point in the year, I don't know how you fix that. But I do think if they don't make a real playoff run here, and by a real playoff run, I think at least East Finals, if not get to the NBA Finals, I think we're going to see a new head coach in Philadelphia.
Keith Smith joining us here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Talk to us about the Eastern Conference, because the Celtics and Bucks look like they're light years ahead of pretty much almost everyone else. Coming into the year, as I said, the Sixers and the Nets, they were considered some of the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. But right now, it looks like the Nets and the Sixers are just not in the same, the same tier as the Bucks and the Celtics.
Yeah, I think that's fair. When I was kind of putting my teams, and that's how I do it. I do it by tiers. When I was putting my teams into the tiers in the East, I had Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia in the top tier. And I basically said, hey, in the regular season, you could tell me any order of those three, and I'm not going to argue with you too much. I think they were all super close. Challenge for Philly has been injuries. They just haven't been healthy. They've had injuries to very key guys, and unfortunately key guys at the same time. So they've gone kind of through it. Now you've seen them, they're starting to play a little bit better, getting their guys back. I think you're starting to see them round into what they were. In Brooklyn's case, it's just been a circus. I had them in a tier of their own behind, because I said, hey, you can either tell me they're the best team in the East and they're going to be awesome, or you can tell me this whole thing falls apart and by the time the playoffs roll around, they're not nowhere close and they're out in the play-in tournament and maybe don't even make it. And now what you're seeing is, again, guys are back. Everybody's playing basketball again, which is surprisingly a huge thing and of importance for a team, and they're playing pretty good. So I still think neither Brooklyn or Philly has the completeness that Boston and Milwaukee have. I think the Celtics get Robert Williams back. You're going to see the defense start to really improve to support what's been the best offense in the league by far and away. And then I think on the Milwaukee side, they've been one of the best defense, if not the best defense in the league. And they gave Chris Middleton back, and that's going to improve what's been kind of a middle-of-the-pack offense. So I think they're just sitting that far ahead of Philly and in Brooklyn that have some questions.
When you look at the Celtics, this is a team that the whole Ime Udoka situation, and it feels like with Missoula, they haven't missed a beat. I mean, they almost look like they're better than they were last year.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways they are a bit better because of what they went through a season ago. If we were having this conversation a year ago, we'd be talking about, hey, are guys going to make it? Are they going to split up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? Because they were under 500 at this point a year ago. They were playing really awful heading into the holiday period, and was right at the end of that holiday period where they started to kind of turn things around and they really picked things up and, great second half, run to the finals. And this year that's carried over. I wasn't as concerned about replacing Ime Udoka with Joe Mazzulla, because Joe Mazzulla's been there. He's been on that staff since Brad Stevens was there. He's been an assistant under Brad. He was one of the only guys who carried over under Ime. And I think what you're seeing with Mazzulla is it was just, hey, we're just going to do what we do, and we're going to do a couple wrinkles on offense, try to do things a little bit better, and go forward. And that's it. I don't need to change anything here. It's we're not trying to recreate the wheel. This seems already pretty good. I just mostly got to add a couple things, stay out of the way, figure out how to incorporate Malcolm Brogdon into the lineup, and everything's gone about as well as possible for the Celtics, despite a couple stumbles here on this road trip this past week.
Couple more for Keith Smith from Spotrac, NBA Insider. Have you ever seen a situation where two teams have both won like Cleveland and Utah have from a trade?
Every once in a while you get one of those. I think the real famous example in recent years was when the Spurs traded for Kawhi Leonard at the draft from the Indiana Pacers and sent George Hill to the Pacers. George Hill was a huge part of lifting the Pacers into Eastern Conference Finals. They almost knocked off those LeBron James-led Heat teams a couple times. And then Kawhi, obviously, great for the Spurs and helped lead them to a title. So that was a pretty good win-win trade, but not normally when you see it as far as what it looked like on its face. It looked like the Jazz were basically starting a massive sell-off in a multi-year rebuild, and instead what they've done is turn it into, hey, these are a bunch of weird fitting pieces and parts, but we're cobbling it together and we're really making it work. So that's been a fun outcome for both of those teams.
What is wrong with the Hawks?
I wish I knew the full answer to that. I think a lot of it comes down to that core group has been together for a while now. And I know they just added DeJounte Murray, but when you have Trae Young, John Collins, Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter, you're in like year 4 for that group together. And I think we're just seeing it doesn't really work. Trae Young, I'm not going to go as far as saying he's uncoachable or anything like that. I think it's more of just he has some issues with Nate McMullen now that this is issues he had with Lloyd Pierce, and you're just seeing that team is struggling to figure it out. They don't defend consistently night to night. In the offense, we knew it was going to be bumpy because when you're adding in a second primary ball handler, when you have one of the highest usage guys already in the league, it's tricky. But what's happened is Trae Young's still getting all of his. DeJounte Murray's getting his. Now everybody else on the roster has had to sacrifice, and it's just not going the way I think they hoped it would.
Sixers going to play the Warriors this Friday night at home. The Warriors are 12-2 on the road. They're 2-12. What gives?
Yeah, I think some of it with them for sure is a deprioritization of the regular season. They just, you saw it in Milwaukee. They were down 15 to 20 points consistently last night. It got into the beginning part of the fourth quarter. I want to say there was about 7 or 8 minutes to go, maybe as much as 10. And Steve Kerr said, yeah, we're not making a run, and basically pulled all his guys because he's like, I'm not going to push guys minutes up and have them chase to try to come back against, a team where we're probably not going to pull it off. The 1% chance we come back in this game is not worth it. So I'm going to, kind of do that to take guys out. Now, the home road split struggle is weird to me. That team's been one of the more consistent winners on the road since they've kind of come into prominence. But I really do. I think it's a matter of they're not getting after it. And then the other piece is their bench isn't very good. And a lot of times when you have a limited bench, that really shows up in road games because they don't get that bounce and that lift from the home crowd. Role players are the number one guys who benefit from the home crowd kind of lifting them, and that's what the Warriors' entire bench is. That's a big part of why they have struggled so much this season.
At Keith Smith NBA, check out all of his work over with Spotrac. He joined us here on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Keith, appreciate you jumping on. I knew I could count on you for explaining some of these things that a lot of our listeners are scratching their head about.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. If I don't talk to you before, happy holidays.
Take care, Keith. Keith's always a great man to come on, talk basketball here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. I am Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Coming up in the next hour, we'll talk more Sixers and Eagles as well. Don't forget, Geoff Kerr from CBS Sports doing us coming up at 5:30 tonight to get more into the NFC East. And don't forget, go to our website, 973ESPN.com, or you can jump on the 973 ESPN mobile app for your chance to win tickets to Sixers Warriors. Yes, you can go see the Warriors and the Sixers face off, but you got to go to the website or the app, 973ESPN.com, 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle for your chance to win Sixers Warriors tickets exclusively thanks to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Follow the show next.
Here's what you missed on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
I think Jalen Hurts has to be in consideration. It might be the MVP for what he's done for that football team. He's a dual threat. There's no doubt about it. He can make plays with his legs. He can run, make a lot of plays when that offense is bogged down a little bit. But him throwing the ball down the field with accuracy is something that he's really improved on.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The 2023 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall, March 7th through 11th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, and a mac and cheese fest, where you'll be able to taste a variety of mac and cheese from your favorite local restaurants. Don't miss your chance to be a part of the action to see who'll cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Get your tickets at boardwalkhall.com.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts big and small for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99, only at Banana Republic Factory.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
Exciting news. There's a new way to head to Florida for some sunshine. It's with Avelo. Hello, Avelo. Save $20 off round-trip flights with promo code ESPN20 when you book and fly by April 30th, 2023. Avelo flies from Wilmington Airport to 5 different Florida destinations. So no more driving to Philly. No more dealing with parking hassle. Low fares for Avelo start at just $49 each way. Flights begin February 1st. Save $20 off round-trip flights with promo code ESPN20 when you book and fly by April 30th, 2023. Book now at AveloAir.com.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Requalifications exist with approved credits. $2,778 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Don't end up on the naughty list. Let Bob's Garden Center on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township keep you on the nice list. Sleigh bells are ringing on Saturday, December 17th. 97.3 ESPN will host a guys' night out at Bob's Garden Center from 4 to 6 p.m.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Philly from Mike Gill, driving you home here on 97.3 ESPN. Still to come on the show, your chance to win Sixers tickets. Got to go to our website, 97.3 ESPN. Sixers Warriors this Friday night. You can hear the game here on 97.3 ESPN, but you can win tickets if you go to our website or jump on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Geoff Kerr from CBS Sports will join us coming up in about 25 minutes from now. Get more into the Eagles in the NFC East. Right now, of course, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 is the text where you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Let me get you updated on the things you might have missed. If you're just tuning into the show now, let me get you up to date on some of the things we've been talking about for the last 3 hours here on the Sports Bash. Couple things. One, Dallas Goedert has been activated for his practice window, which means he is on track to play this Sunday. And based on everything I've heard and read, it looks like that Goedert is taking the spot on the roster of Aaron Siposs. And I thought the point that was made an hour ago by Jeff Mosher is something very interesting to keep an eye on. So Jeff Mosher, when he was on earlier for Football at 4, he talked about how the Eagles don't have to put Brett Kern on the active roster. And here's why. According to Jeff, he was explaining, and I think this is very interesting and something to keep an eye on moving forward. The Eagles have 3 call-ups for a guy on the practice squad. And then they either have to put him permanently on the roster or they can't call him up anymore from the practice squad. The Eagles have 4 games left this season. What if the Eagles keep Brett Kern on the practice squad, don't play him in the final game of the season, and Jeff Mosher explained for the playoffs, the practice squad call-ups reset. So they can literally keep Brett Kern on the practice squad for a playoff run. Because in the postseason, they can still call him up. And if the Eagles get the number 1 seed, in theory, not playing him the final game doesn't kill them, right? If they get the number 1 seed by winning these next few games, lock up the division, lock up the 1 seed, they could let Kern play if they go to a Super Bowl. Well, how many games is that? Divisional round, conference championship game, Super Bowl. That's still 3. So this is almost like, this is Howie Roseman and the Eagles organization, again, playing chess when the rest of the league is playing checkers. It's an amazing thing I had not thought about before. And with Goedert coming back, keeping Kern on the practice squad also allows the Eagles to continue their roster gymnastics because Christian Ellis has been a huge addition and upgrade for the special teams. Well, how would you put Christian Ellis on the roster if you also have to put Brett Kerr on the roster, or in this case, you don't have to, and now you have one less roster spot to open up for a guy like Christian Ellis. Furthermore, don't forget the last 2 games of the season, New Year's Day versus the Saints, and then the final game against the Giants. If you are able to run through the next 3 games, and it starts, absolutely starts for sure, this Sunday in Chicago versus the Bears. Mel Reese, Mike Quick on the call. Here you're home for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN. If it starts with this Sunday, if you can knock out the next 3 games and you lock up the number 1 seed, then you don't have to worry about the final game of the season. It almost doesn't matter who plays that game. But I understand there are some people out there who are extremely concerned about the Eagles having too much time off. But if you listen to John McMullen earlier in the show and Geoff Mosher as well today, the Eagles don't have those concerns. Now, if that's ego or pride on their part, then fine, I can accept that. I think it's interesting, though, that the Eagles are in a position to keep everyone they have. They don't have to bring back Aaron Sipas off the IR. They could just put him out for the rest of the year if Brett Kern works out. Or if Kern doesn't work out, then you could bring Sipas back for the postseason. There's so many ways this team can go with this, and I think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on moving forward. The roster gymnastics and the manipulation of things that Howie Roseman, the Eagles front office, is doing. The other thing that we've talked about throughout the day here on the Sports Bash, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. The other side of the coin is this Micah Parsons audio that has gone viral. Now, I'm sure not everyone listening to the sound of my voice, whether you're listening on the app or in your car on the radio or wherever you check out the show, we appreciate you tuning in to the show. Mike Gill will be back in the cell tomorrow, live from Chickies and Pete's. The audio, I think, is being taken a little out of context because, for those who don't know, Micah Parsons was a guest on the Voncast. It's Von Miller's podcast that is basically carried and hosted, or whatever you want to call it, by Bleacher Report. It's about 90 minutes that, frankly, I could have done without listening to all of it. But I did because I was trying to get the context of what was being said. Because if you flip on ESPN TV or Fox Sports 1, you're not getting the full story. So, make a long story short, I'll play the audio here in just a moment so you as well can judge for yourself what was said. Von Miller brought up the conversation of MVP. And Micah Parsons proceeded to say that he doesn't think Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate because he believes that Jalen Hurts has a better roster around him than Patrick Mahomes does. And he went on to ask Von Miller, well, is it the player or is it the team and the system? And Von Miller gives some very intelligent and thoughtful answers to Micah Parsons' points. And it feels like this is Micah Parsons more so just trying not to give Jalen Hurts credit. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to first play for you the specific audio that is making the rounds. You guys can comment it on 609-403-0973 or DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. I will then also play for you what was said before the viral audio so you guys can have the proper context on what is being said. So first up, this is the audio that ESPN television and Fox Sports television that they're running with on pretty much every show today.
It's system and team. I think it's a little bit of both, man, because they got a great offensive line, which helps Hurts. Hurts has A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. They got a good running game.
I mean, Miles Sanders.
They scheme that they have.
O-line.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, like.
Hey, this Eagles Cowboy coming up, ain't it?
Yeah, it's coming up. I'm not trying to make no enemies. I just love the game so much, and I understand it so much that like I can't. I when things are off, I just can't like hold it in. Like I almost gotta say something. Like
yeah, you're right. They got a great team, great defense.
But everyone has their own opinions. Like.
So you heard Micah Parsons start that. He asked Von Miller, is it the player or is it the system? And it seems like Micah Parsons' perspective is that he says that the team around Jalen is so good that it's not all Jalen. And Von Miller counters by saying, look, man, I think it's both. And I feel like Von Miller is trying to be like the veteran older brother in this situation. He's trying to impart some wisdom to Micah Parsons. So this whole conversation that was had was originated from a part of the podcast. And this is what I'm going to play for you. 10 minutes earlier is the origin of this conversation. Again, this is from the podcast sponsored by Bleacher Report.
I think right now it's down to 2. It's down to 2.
Mahomes
right
and Allen?
Josh coming back, but it's down to 2.
Who else would you put?
I'll probably put Hurts and Mahomes right now. End of the season.
It's hard for me to really speak on this.
Josh right there. Josh is probably right there in the bubble.
In a couple weeks. I don't want him to make me pay.
No, I'll put my GM hat on. I'll put my GM hat on, bro.
It's hard. Like when you put talent around, it makes it easier. You know.
Well,
okay, because I'm
Lamar Jackson. You put
Lamar. He almost has his own.
He doing it by himself. And then Aaron Rodgers. He the highest paid quarterback in the league. Not as much talent as he's used to having, and he's not having.
That's why I say talent makes it a lot easier.
So that's where we're going to pick up this conversation here. And I did this a little bit earlier in the show. I wanted to bring it back full circle for those who have tuned in later to listen in the 2:00 hour. There's 2 big things I take away from this podcast, because I don't think Micah Parsons is trying to insult Jalen Hurts, but I think he seems very uninterested in admitting that he is wrong or that his perspective may be incorrect. Because you hear Von Miller in both audio cuts. He's trying to force Micah Parsons to explain his position a little bit more. And he's saying, look, man, I think that there's more to it than that. And you heard them both talking about Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. And I think that's a great 2 players that they brought up. When Lamar won the MVP, he won the MVP with arguably a better roster than he has right now. He won the MVP with an offense that was custom built for him to be successful. Aaron Rodgers, when he won the MVP, he had better talent around him than he does right now. Both players this year have diminished receivers, diminished offensive lines, and they both have struggled this year. So these guys are right that talent matters, that you have to have players around you. That does matter. But there's the other side of it where you still need the player to execute. The quarterback still has to get the job done. And I thought a texter he texted in the show a little bit earlier made a great point at 609-403-0973. The texter explained that, you could have all the talent in the world, but the quarterback still has to do his job. And I go back to the 1995 Detroit Lions. Those mid-90s Lions, Herman Moore was at his peak. Barry Sanders was in his prime. Scott Mitchell was throwing for 4,000 passing yards. They get to the postseason. Scott Mitchell throws 4 interceptions, gets benched. The Eagles beat the Lions. The quarterback still had to do his job in Detroit. And you could argue the biggest reason why Barry Sanders never had more team success was because the roster around him was never good enough. So this is more than just a quarterback issue. This is any player issue. If you don't have the talent around you to be successful, then it's hard for anyone to get the individual credit. But the problem is, in today's game, the quarterback gets all the praise and all the blame no matter what happens. You have to have a all things are fair argument here. Because as Dan EHT says on the text board, the Eagles dominated that so-called great Cowboys defense in the first game and will do so again. Parsons is in for some Eagle offensive line pancakes. Well, Dan EHT, this is the point that Jeff Mosher brought up a little bit earlier in the show. Mosher brought up the fact that the Eagles zeroed in and neutralized Micah Parsons and many times ran the play right at him to negate Micah Parsons' ability to make a quick decision and go after the quarterback or go after the ball carrier. So the Eagles, yes, they showed that they have the formula to beat the Dallas defense. Because at the end of the day, the Eagles didn't beat Cooper Rush. The narrative that Cooper Rush, oh, well, you only beat the Cowboys Cooper Rush. No. The Eagles offense beat the Dallas defense. And you heard Micah Parsons say that he thinks very highly of the Eagles offensive line. And he thinks very highly of A.J. Brown and Miles Sanders. But he doesn't want to give the credit to Jalen Hurts. And in many ways, Micah sounds like the guy that you meet at the bar or you go to your local sports book like it over at Ocean Casino Resort, the Gallery Bar booking games, or when Mike Gill goes to Chickies and Pete's tomorrow, you meet the guy who tells you whatever's going on in the game on television, the coach is wrong, the quarterback is wrong, and the reason why they're wrong is because the guy sitting next to you played football in high school 20, 30 years ago. And so because he played football 20, 30 years ago, he knows better than everyone else. Because you heard Micah Parsons say in the one part of the audio how smart he is and how much he knows about football. People who are smart and know football don't have to explain to you that they're smart and know football. Micah sounds like a guy who got caught not being able to rationalize his position well enough. So then he retreated to, I'm smart, I know football, I don't like you, basically. And I think he felt like he had to do that because he didn't want to tell Von Miller that he was wrong, because he knows that Von Miller is a future Hall of Famer and Micah Parsons hopes to have the career that Von Miller has had. And he obviously has all the talent in the world to have at least Von Miller's career, if not even more. But I think that this is a wonderful example of people being nearsighted, narrow-minded, and not want to admit they were wrong. Micah Parsons won't admit that his perspective is wrong because he doesn't want to give Jalen Hurts credit. Now, does he not want to give Jalen Hurts credit because he doesn't want to say anything good about the Eagles, per se, and he's a Cowboy and they played them in 2 weeks? Because he also said, I don't want to say anything to get me in trouble. It's an interesting position we put these athletes in because there was a time that the only way you got any answers or perspectives or opinions from professional athletes was when they talked to the media in the locker room or at the podium. Nowadays, guys go on podcasts, guys have Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all these ways of reaching you, the fan. And me, as a member of the media behind this microphone, we jump on this audio because many times these guys are giving us these blasé answers. They're not giving you much at the press conference, at the locker, but they're giving you more in these podcast settings. The problem with these podcast settings is that these athletes, if they don't have enough, for lack of a better term, training when it comes to handling some of these things, they come off like Micah Parsons did, sounding like a guy who, because he can't defend his argument, just resorts back to, I'm smart, I know football. Again, the person who is smart and knows football doesn't need to tell you how smart and how much football they know. Now, of course, someone can tell you, hey, I went 4-2 on my bets this weekend that I gave out, on my show or my podcast, or I was a guest on this show or whatever. We see that all the time. There's nothing wrong with keeping records and receipts. But to not be able to articulate your argument and fall into a trap, that's what happened to Micah Parsons here. I don't begrudge Micah Parsons for saying any of this. He's giving his opinion. He doesn't think Jalen Hurts should be MVP. Guess what? He ain't the only one. There's a bunch of people who think Patrick Mahomes should win the MVP. But the problem with Mahomes is that Mahomes is still a little less without Tyreek Hill. Look, Mahomes has not been perfect. Mahomes has had interceptions in multiple games. He has way more turnovers. I think he actually has 3 times more turnovers this season than Jalen Hurts does. I saw the stat right on NFL Network this morning. Mahomes, for as much as he has done with less than Jalen Hurts, he has also had the turnovers. He has also had the rough moments. I mean, that Chiefs game versus the Colts looked ugly. Interestingly enough, both the Chiefs and the Eagles had trouble scoring against the Colts. So either the Colts are the boogeyman, or the Chiefs and the Eagles are both overrated. Josh Hennig here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. So don't forget my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. Trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning like we did here at 97.3 ESPN. So we didn't make the studio comfortable. That's who we called, and so should you. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. From new heating and air installation, service, and maintenance, water heaters, boilers, leaks, whatever work you need done, plumbing, heating, air conditioning, Jenkins has got you covered. Give them a call at 609-641-6262, online at jenkinsandsons.com. More football talk next with Geoff Kerr from CBS Sports and Good Morning NFC East. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Get the gift of 97.3 ESPN this year for Christmas. It's cheaper than gift cards.
Merry Christmas!
Just tell a friend to download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free in the Apple Store or Google Play.
Merry Christmas!
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
'Twas the month of December, and all through the lot, people were shouting about the offers they got.
I got more for my trade.
These are the best prices in town.
They bailed me out of my loan. I was upside down.
If you're worried about credit, stop. Just apply, because the staff at Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to see you in a new ride. Ho, ho, ho. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. Plus, every new Mitsubishi Outlander SUV puts 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Requalifications exist. Not all will qualify. 2778 per thousand finance not approved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer or call 844-946-2315 for complete details. Plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 12/31/22. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
Where does the magic of the holidays come from? The North Pole? Maybe. Sugar plum fairies? Probably not. At Walgreens, we know that magic comes from you. It's the halls you deck from wall to wall, the wonderful gifts under your tree, and the holly jolly parties you throw. So dash into your local Walgreens, where we'll be here to help every merry little step of the way. Because when you're ready to spread the holiday cheer, it's not magic, it's Walgreens. This week, Starbucks mugs are 50% off. Select styles available while supplies last.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. Earlier today, the Philadelphia Eagles opened the 21-day practice window for tight end Dallas Goedert. This means Goedert could be on track to return to the field and play this Sunday in Chicago. Listen to the Eagles play the Bears with barrel race of Mike Quick calling all the action on 97.3 ESPN kickoff at 1 p.m. Sixers won their 5th straight home game on Tuesday night with a 123-103 victory over the Sacramento Kings. The 76ers are back in action this Friday night when they host the Golden State Warriors. You can hear all the action starting at 7:30 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. If you want to be in attendance when the 76ers play the Warriors, then you should go to our website now for your chance to win tickets for this Friday night's game. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
If you own a small to medium-sized business that kept employees on payroll through COVID, you may have a big cash refund waiting for you. The Employee Retention Credit is a tax credit of up to $26,000 per employee. And now, more businesses than ever qualify. The experts at RefundsPro.com specialize in cutting through the red tape of qualifying for this government program. Most of their refunds are over $100,000. Even businesses that have received PPP funds may be eligible. And there are absolutely no fees unless you receive a refund. So there's no reason not to apply. If your business experienced shutdowns, limited capacity, supply chain challenges, or reduced revenue due to COVID, you likely qualify. RefundsPro.com has already helped hundreds of businesses. So don't lose the refund you're owed by missing the deadline. Get started today with a free 5-minute questionnaire at RefundsPro.com. That's refunds with an S, pro.com.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. A significant coastal storm, a nor'easter, arrives tomorrow, but the storm track is not a snowy one. In fact, heavy rain and wind will be the big concerns for tomorrow. Increasing clouds tonight, quiet and cold, low at 29. Rain arrives mid-morning tomorrow. Could be a little bit of icy mix just as things get started. Then we get soaked. Heaviest rain, strongest wind gusts tomorrow night, wrapping up sometime Friday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Last year, 700 people died in crashes on New Jersey roads. Many because someone chose to drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. That's 700 preventable deaths. 700 parents, children, spouses, grandparents. Now multiply that number by their friends, coworkers, classmates. That's thousands of lives changed forever because of one mistake. Impaired driving can cost you your license and maybe even your freedom. For thousands of others, the cost is far worse. Don't drive impaired. From the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig back here on the Sports Bash, filling in for Mike Gill on a Wednesday edition on 97.3 ESPN. Time to talk with Geoff Kerr from CBS Sports. Of course, Geoff Kerr's appearance being brought to you on the Sports Bash by BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. Shop their entire new inventory and take advantage of exceptional offers online anytime at BMWAtlanticCity.com. Well, midweek is always a good time to talk with Geoff Kerr because, with the NFL, there's always some news, always something going on with the NFC East. And I'm sure Geoff Kerr is tired of hearing about Micah Parsons at this point. Geoff, how you doing today?
You know what? I distracted myself from Micah Parsons on this fabulous day off, Josh Hennig, by finally getting to watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Very nice. How did you like it? Did you like it?
It was fantastic. I laughed throughout the entire thing.
I told a couple of people I thought it was just a fun ride. Like, that's what I treated it as.
Yeah, exactly. It has no ties to the MCU whatsoever. It's just the Guardians being the Guardians. And if you like Kevin Bacon, you're going to love the holiday special.
Kevin was a very underrated part of the holiday special. Although I gotta say, my favorite part was Mantis just kept getting mad at Drax the whole time. So.
Oh yeah, well she always gets mad at Drax. So what else is new? I still like though when they actually bring Kevin Bacon and basically Quill tells him it's human trafficking.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. I love it, and that's a good way to distract yourself because Geoff, Eagle players today are saying, we don't care about Micah Parsons is saying we're focusing on Chicago. Mailata even said that maybe Parsons should focus on his next game instead of on the Eagles. But I'm kind of stuck between two different worlds, Geoff, because on one hand, I understand what Parsons was trying to say. His opinion is, like a lot of people, I think, that Mahomes is doing more with less and that Jalen Hurts has got all this talent around him. I think how Micah Parsons handled it is the problem because his answer at one point to Von Miller was, well, I know football and I'm smart and I have to speak my mind. So, he didn't do himself any favors, but I understand what he was trying to say.
I get the premise of it, right? I think it almost felt like a backhanded compliment. Like, okay, I'm complimenting him up front, but it's the team. It's not really him. The thing is, if I was him, I wouldn't have even addressed Philadelphia. And again, he falls into this Dallas Cowboys trap that the fans get into and the ownership gets into. That week 6 didn't count. Well, guess what, Micah? Week 6 did count because you're 2 games behind Philadelphia in the division, and Philadelphia owns the tiebreaker. If the Eagles win this week and you guys somehow lose to the Jaguars, that week 16 game means absolutely nothing. And it still might not mean anything if both teams win this week.
I don't understand why people can't accept that the Eagles didn't beat Cooper Rush. The Eagles beat the Cowboys defense.
Yes, thank you.
It doesn't matter that Cooper Rush. It could have been Dan Marino at quarterback, all right? At the end of the day, Dallas is supposed to have one of the 2 best defenses in the entire NFC, right? The conversation is it San Francisco or Dallas, right? And it's like, no. The Eagles offense beat the Dallas defense. That's why they won. I think that's why Micah was so complimentary of the offensive line for the Eagles. I think in his mind, he thinks that the Eagles scheme beat him.
I think so too. And you know what? The Eagles took an early lead on him and he was ineffective. As a matter of fact, again, I'm a big Micah Parsons fan. I've talked to Micah Parsons on several occasions. He's a good dude, but he does speak his mind a lot. And I think Micah Parsons gets a little upset that defensive players aren't in the conversation for MVP, like Jalen Hurts, like Patrick Mahomes, like Joe Burrow. I think he's saying, well, where's my piece of the pie here? I'm having a really good year too. Where's Nick Bosa's piece of the pie? He's having a really good year. And I don't think he understands what most valuable player actually is. It's really the quarterback, or if a running back has an incredible year, because receivers don't get it. Offensive linemen sure as hell don't get it. Defensive players, I think Lawrence Taylor might be the last defensive player to get it, if I'm not mistaken.
That's like 35 years ago.
Exactly. It's very rare. Even the kickers won MVP at one point, but that was a strike shortened year. But yeah, I just think he's afraid to admit, like a lot of Cowboys fans are afraid to admit, that Jalen Hurts is better than Dak Prescott. And that's the bottom line. And, it's funny, when the shoe's on the other foot, didn't you think Dak Prescott was a product of what he had last year?
I do, but I mean, I thought it was interesting that Von Miller on the pod, because if you listen to the full audio, because I played more of the audio than ESPN and Fox Sports TV are, okay?
Oh, yeah.
No offense to them, but I put the context in there. And Von Miller explains to Micah Parsons, well, when Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson won MVP, they had a lot of talent around them. Now look at those guys this year, and that was when Micah started hemming and hawing about Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's when he was giving all the Mahomes comments. And am I the only person here? And I go on Kansas City Sports Radio every Monday. I swear, it might be me and Kansas City radio and sports fans are the people who actually seem to think Patrick Mahomes has a lot of talent around him, because I think their wide receiver core is deeper than it was last year. It was Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Josh Hennig and Jeff Kerr. That's pretty much what that team was. Now you got names there.
You really hating Mecole Hardman, don't you? Jeez.
Well, Mecole Hardman couldn't even beat Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson on that team last year. Sorry, Demarcus Robinson was on that team last year. But anyway, no, Mecole Hardman's having a really good year. And they added Kadarius Toney. Well, and you got Juju Smith-Schuster, you got Marcus Valdes-Scantling, you got Travis Kelce, you got an offensive line that's one of the better offensive lines in football. There's a lot of talent there. Oh, and by the way, as I've been saying the whole year, as long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes remain intact, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be a good football team. They're still there.
Yeah, they're still there. Geoff, let's get to some other things that are not involving Micah Parsons here. The big news of the morning was Dallas Goedert 21-day window activated. Your thoughts on Goddard expected to be on the field this Sunday?
Well, he told me 2 weeks ago he's going to be back. He told a bunch of reporters 2 weeks ago he's going to be back. So, yeah, I'm not surprised, but it's going to be huge for Jalen Hurts. And I'll tell you what, I would limit Dallas Goedert, kind of like how they've been limiting Jordan Davis, because now that Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra can kind of do the job. They can fill in at tight end. I wasn't sure about that after the Colts game, but since then, both players have played way better than my expectation. Now you got Dallas Goedert in the equation, Josh. This is what I personally think. I think, Goddard's going to end up playing 60-70% of snaps because he is Dallas Goedert. But I think you could limit him and just kind of have his presence on the field as an extra blocker. But I will say this, Josh. This team should throw for 300 yards off Chicago. It's a bad defense.
Bad defense. I say Chicago's a horrible defense, but
I'm being nice here. I'm nice to a lot of teams. Like I'm nice to the Vikings, and they have.
You have to be nice.
I do have to be nice, but I don't have to be. Am I ever nice to Josh McDaniels? You've heard me complain to Mike about Josh McDaniels.
That's true. That's true.
I'm not nice to him. I don't think he should have a job. Dennis Allen's another one. I'm not nice to him either, but I'm glad he's the Saints coach because the Eagles are going to get a top 5 pick because of him.
Speaking of that pick, I don't know if you saw the Todd McShay mock draft where he had the Eagles taking a running back in the first round. I got to tell you, Geoff, I think it's more likely the Eagles trade that pick than draft a running back in the top 5.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm like, look, I love Bijan Robinson too, but come on, man. The Eagles are not drafting him at 5. I'll tell you what, if they draft anybody in the top 5 that's an impact player, it's probably going to be a pass rusher or it might be an offensive lineman, knowing them, because that's just who the Eagles are. That's what they do. I mean, could you see him draft a receiver? No. Maybe a safety. Again, is there a game-changing safety or cornerback in there you can get? Yeah, probably. I mean, it all depends what you do with James Bradbury, right? There's so many options they can go here. Bijan Robinson, as much as I love him, he is not getting picked 5th overall. So by the way, Todd McShay's been doing this for 20 years. You'd think he would know by now, like where the Eagles trend.
Sometimes I have trouble figuring out, are these guys making these mock drafts because they think it's going to happen or because they're trying to get people to click on the article?
Social engagement. That's all. That's what it's all about. We have it here at CBS. It's everywhere. I actually think our mock draft guys aren't hot take guys. Again, company guy, but every time I read their mock drafts, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can see that. And they ask for my input too on a couple teams. They're like, hey, what do you, I'm leaning toward picking this guy. What do you think? And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. I get asked whether the Eagles needs all the time. And I said, well, they don't have any needs right now. Okay. What do you think their needs will be in March? And because they were laughing at the Bijan Robinson things. I think they've been going safe and going like offensive or defensive linemen.
I mean, my assumption, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, host of Good Morning NFC East on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, Monday through Friday. My assumption is this, and maybe this is a little bit, tinfoil on me. I think the Eagles go defense the first 2 rounds because I think Jonathan Gannon will not be here next year.
I would agree with that. If Jonathan Gannon isn't here, it's because he got a job. And by the way, I think
that's what I mean. Yeah.
I think Denard Wilson would be the obvious internal replacement if they don't go and, whatever Vic Fangio's situation is with the Denver Broncos in terms of contract. But I mean, by the way, that has been my story of the year. We got to hire a pro in here like Vic Fangio. I'm like, you guys do realize they run the same defense, right? It's one of my favorite Twitter fan theories of all time. The other one, they don't get enough pressure on the quarterback. That's my other favorite one.
Yeah, they're top 5 in both pressures and sacks and quarterback hits and hurries. But you got to blitz more. But that's the problem. And I think just to bring it full circle with Michael Parsons, the problem is, Geoff, is we live in a world where people don't want to admit when they're wrong. People look at Gannon, people look at Hurts. Like I had Emory Hunt earlier on the show, and Emory told me, what's that?
He's a legend, by the way.
Oh, he's amazing. Emory told me the week after Hurts was drafted, Emory told me here on 97.3, he said, Hurts is a franchise quarterback in the NFL. That was 2 years ago. Yeah. So I had to get him back on to explain to people why he saw it. But Emory saw it. Other people didn't. And it's like, I don't think people like to admit when they're wrong. So they don't want to admit when they're wrong. And they want to find every reason why Gannon is bad, Hurts can't win the MVP, or whatever the argument is.
I'll always go by what my dad tells me. If you want to be right all the time, and if you want to never be wrong, then don't shoot out your opinion all the time. Bottom line. That way you don't have one. It's, again, when Jalen Hurts got drafted, I'm like, okay, I like the pick. I kind of like where this is going. I like Jalen Hurts in college, and I had to argue with people to the death as a guy who watches college football like crazy. I'm like, did you only watch 2 games of Jalen Hurts' career? A, the national championship game, his freshman year where he couldn't throw, or B, the game he got benched by Tua? Because I swear that's where the Jalen Hurts narrative came from.
It probably is where it came from. I want to get you real quick before we get out of here. NFC East. Giants, Washington, they're playing this week.
I can't
basically, it's like winner goes to the playoffs, it feels like.
You know what? I can't wait for this game. I couldn't wait for the first game, and I didn't get to watch the first game until after the result happened. It was funny. So I got a funny story for you, Josh. I don't know if I told Mike this or not, but I was waiting to go in the Eagles locker room, and I'm kind of watching the end of the game. Everybody's like, wait, they tied? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is perfectly fitting. They are the exact same football team. They literally are. I think Washington's better than them, but they are the exact same team. And I agree with you. I think the winner of this game takes a wild card spot in the NFC. Dallas is going to get the wild card. They're going to get one. There's going to be another NFC East team in there. And then it all depends which one between the loser of Sunday night and Seattle doesn't free fall and lets Detroit back in this. By the way, Detroit has one heck of a shot of getting in the wild card if they can win on Sunday against the Jets. So if the Giants win, I say they're in. I know Giants fans are really negative on their team right now, but I think 9 wins. I think they can get another win in there. So that'll be enough. If Washington wins, I think they're a stone cold lock to get in.
Does the winner of the Giants-Washington game, does their coach win Coach of the Year?
Ooh. I'll say no to Ron Rivera because I kind of expected Washington to be, I guess, 7-5-1 or a 7-6 or an 8-5 at this point. I actually thought Washington was going to be a lot better than what they were. Again, not with Taylor Heineke, but I like the team. But that just shows you what type of player Carson Wentz is. Brian Dable, you know what? Can we start the Nick Sirianni Coach of the Year bandwagon here?
If you want to, go for it. Give the platform right now.
They're 12-1. They're the best team in football. It's not even close. I don't know who else you give it to. I had them winning 12 games this year, and I thought I was being optimistic. They might win 14-15. I mean, it's crazy to think about. I can't think of. There's a couple guys I have as candidates for Coach of the Year right now. I think Dan Campbell could actually make a run at it if Detroit makes the playoffs. Jacksonville didn't win enough games, so I won't go with Doug. Nick Sirianni, obviously. I think he's up there. I'm just trying to think of guys off the top of my head.
How about Pete Carroll?
Pete Carroll's another one I was thinking of. If Seattle makes the playoffs, yes, Pete Carroll deserves to be coach of the year. I mean, you basically replaced Russell Wilson, who, by the way, stinks in Denver because of his head coach. And that's another guy I'll want coaching next year. And, yeah, I mean, look, Seattle has won 7 games every year Pete Carroll's been a head coach. You know how hard that is to do?
It's impressive.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's the longest streak in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. I was a big advocate for Mike McDaniel, but the last couple of weeks, Miami's kind of fell by the wayside a bit. Robert Saleh could be in there too if the Jets make the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. So I think there's a lot of candidates right now, but you got to give Nick Sirianni some credit. This team is 12-1. They have the number 1 offense in football in terms of scoring. They haven't done that since 1949. They're top 3 in 27 different categories, Josh. 27! I can't even tweet how many there are.
We're running short on time, but before I let you go, if both Denver and Arizona's head coaching jobs are both open, which I expect to happen this offseason, which one does Frank Reich go to?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? I'm Frank Reich. I think I tried Denver. It's not a part of my. No, you know what? I'm not gonna say it. It's not. You know what? It's not a you know what show.
Yeah. Well, it's dumpster fire. Just say dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire. Thank you. Yeah, I gotta remember where I'm at here. I'm not on YouTube right now. Yeah, I want to say it, but I can't. I thought you were gonna ask me Sean Payton.
Here's my problem with Peyton. I don't know if you saw what he said with Brady on the podcast. Was it last week?
What, he might go back to the Saints? That one?
No. He said on the podcast with Brady and Jim Gray that oh, I'm really enjoying retirement. I don't really know when I want to come back.
He's so full of it.
I think Sean Payton's waiting for Dallas. I think that's what he's doing.
I think he is too, but can you really fire Mike McCarthy unless you lose the first playoff game again?
No, but that's why you wait another year.
And that's true. It's not
because
like
when Dan Campbell leaves and gets another head coaching job, and Mike McCarthy has to hire basically me to go out there and coach the defense, then things will fall apart, and then Sean Payton gets the job.
Who's the guy who? Oh, the guy in Rocky V, the promoter, the guy who's supposed to be like the Don King guy, George Washington Duke. You're a, you know what, fool. That's if Sean Payton passes the opportunity to coach Justin Herbert, he is a fool.
Do you really think the Chargers job's going to open up?
It could. I mean, I'll say Joe Lombardi is about one of the worst offensive coordinators I've ever seen. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator of the 08
Don't
Lions.
tell Chris Collinsworth that.
I don't care what Chris Collinsworth thinks. You know that. I don't care what anybody thinks. It's, if
I had $1 for every time Collinsworth complimented Joe Lombardi, I would probably be rich by now.
You know why? Because Justin Herbert likes Joe Lombardi, but what else does he have to say? I know who Justin Herbert loves, and that's Shane Steichen. That could be, I still say that could be a fun reunion if those two came back together. But Steichen be the head coach this time.
I think then Eagle fans want to know who the next offensive coordinator is.
Brian Johnson?
I was going to say probably Brian Johnson at this point.
I mean, you promote from within, right? I mean, who else do you? Frank Reich.
I think Eagle fans would like that, though. So
see, here's the thing. Frank Reich did a heck of a job considering everything that went on in Indianapolis, that dumpster fire over there. And he won a playoff game. I think he won a playoff game. I can't remember if he did or not. And
they lost to the Bills, right? With Rivers.
Yeah, they lost to the Bills with Rivers. Did he win?
Did he win with luck? That's what I have to look up.
That's what I can't remember. But either way, he was 5 games over 500 there. With all those quarterback changes. Can you imagine if he had a franchise quarterback like Justin Herbert? I'll even say, can you imagine if he had Kyler Murray and his instability? At least
they did win with luck. Yes, they beat the Texans in the first round, lost to the Chiefs in the second.
That's right. I remember that was the game where Mahomes torched them.
Right.
Well, he torches everybody in the playoffs, so it's not.
Unless you're the Denver Broncos and you throw 3 interceptions and Jerry Jeudy scores 3 touchdowns, and I'm sitting at a local establishment with a guy who has a bet on the Chiefs, sweating his tail off watching the end of that game.
I was laughing at that entire game because Denver scored 21 points. And by the way, the Chiefs had the most deceiving stat line for a defense of all time. They had 6 sacks. I think they forced a bunch of turnovers. They held Denver in the red zone and they still gave up 27 points. It was actually kind of funny. It's wow, if you were a fantasy football owner, you either loved or hated playing the Chiefs defense.
If you listen to the Kelsey's podcast, Travis complimented everybody on the defense on the podcast. And I was like, Travis, you realize they allowed 3 touchdowns
to Denver, who can't score.
To the same guy. It was all the Jerry Jeudy.
By the way, you know how frustrating fantasy football has been for me this year, Josh? So I've had a couple good teams, but I've had a lot of injuries. But my one team is really bad, right? But I've been getting smarter the past couple of weeks because I'm trying to ruin people's seasons. I decided to sign whoever's defense plays the Texans like the last 6 weeks, and it's been working for me. But Cleveland got me 47 points, and I still lost. That's impossible.
I can't help you there, Geoff.
No, everybody goes, oh, we found out what you're doing now. I'm like, it took you 5 weeks to figure out I was playing. I signed whoever's defense was playing the Texans that nobody owned. I hate team defense, by the way. I'd rather do individual defensive players.
At Jeff Kerr, CBS on Twitter. Good morning, NFC East on JAKIB Media YouTube channel, Monday through Friday. And he joined us today on the Sports Bash on a Wednesday on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff, always good conversing with you.
Oh, always a pleasure, Josh. I wish I could come on Friday, but unfortunately, the basketball team I coach got to go 5-0. So,
yeah. Yeah, you're going to try to go 5-0. Sixers trying to win their 6th straight on the at home on Friday. So
isn't that awesome? Yeah, see, that's where I'd love to go see him play Golden State too. But you know, it's this year for being a season ticket holder. I don't know why I am at this point because I haven't gone to as many games as I like. Let's just put it that way.
Jeff, take care of yourself.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me on, Josh.
Josh Hennig filling from Mike Gill. We'll wrap up the show on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
It's about sports.
Are you kidding me?
We got the Sixers, Knicks, and 3 NFL games on Christmas Day.
And there is a touchdown.
It's all on 97.3 ESPN.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's a red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum $10,000 for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Make this a holiday to treasure with 50% off everything at your nearest Banana Republic factory store. Discover inspired gifts, big and small, for everyone on your list, starting at $24.99. Only at Banana Republic Factory.
Is your job recession-proof? Now might be the perfect time to switch careers and become an IT professional with My Computer Career. IT is listed as one of the top recession-proof professions. You could have your dream job in just months, not years. No experience needed. Take classes online or on campus. And financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop. Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby. 844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be ya.
Matt Blatt Kia.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
All right, wrapping up the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, I've been filling in for Mike Gill the last 2 days. He'll be back in tomorrow, live from Chickies and Pete's. Him and Ryan Rothstein got you guys tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow. I'll be back on game night. So no game night tonight. That's the Sports Bash coming up the next hour. No Sixers or Flyers tonight. Probably going to jump on one of the streaming apps and do some binge watching tonight. How about that? Actually, knowing me, I'll probably watch some random game and lose track of time. And then it'll be probably 11 o'clock at night. So. Thanks again to Jeff Kerr for joining the show. Keith Smith, great stuff from him earlier. Jeff Mosher, football for John McMullen, of course, joined us in the 3 o'clock hour. And Emory Hunt, great stuff from him as well. Have a great night, everybody. I'll catch you tomorrow on game night.
It's Sixers basketball Friday night on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Final for three, it's good. Timeout, Warriors. 20,000 plus are on their feet.
The Sixers host the Golden State Warriors. Friday night. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.